Wondery Plus subscribers can listen to Crime and Sports early and ad-free right now. Join Wondery Plus in the Wondery app or on Apple Podcasts.
In the depths of an Atlanta forest, a clash between activists and authorities ends in tragedy. I'm Matthew Scher, and on my new podcast, We Came to the Forest, we expose the hidden truths behind a shootout that left one activist dead and countless lives forever changed. Binge all episodes of We Came to the Forest ad-free on Wondery Plus.
Hello, and welcome to Crime and Sports.
Yay!
Yay, indeed, Jimmy. Yay, indeed. My name is James Pietragallo. I'm here with my co-host.
I am Jimmie Whisman.
Thank you, folks, an immense amount for joining us today. We are excited. Wow, we are very excited for crime. I don't know, we get jacked for Crime and Sports because it's so much fun normally. Today is a especially gross one, which is awesome. It's interesting. Boy, let me tell you something. This is an interesting episode. Can't wait to unleash it upon you. It's a brain damage sport, and there's definitely brain damage involved, and the consequences of it are mind-boggling. So we'll get into all that, but very quickly want to thank you, first of all, for your reviews. They help a lot. So wherever you listen, just if you can review, give us 5 stars or 10 stars or however many the most stars are, give us that many and say, I like this show, and then that'll help us. I don't know why. So head over to shutupandgivememurder.com right now for everything Crime and Sports and Small Town Murder, including all of your merchandise of every there's so much stuff on it. It's not just t-shirts. Well, we haven't mentioned it lately, but I mean, you can get a shower curtain with "You Sir May Fuck Off" on it. Like, you literally can get that. You can get a baby onesie with it on it, or any of our phrases or things or weird stuff.
Ridiculous where it doesn't belong. Put it on it.
Yeah, do that. Send your baby to preschool like that. It'll be perfect or whatever. So
keep
I don't
your
know.
Baby from getting diddled. I think. I hope. I'm sure it adds a layer.
You would go, I'm not messing with that kid's parents. You know what I mean? They're going to kick my ass at least.
If they find out about this, there's going to be a problem.
I'm going to be in trouble. So check all of that out. Tickets to live shows are on sale that our fingers are crossed are actually going to happen, and we're going to be able to come out and see everybody. Yeah. So check that all out there at shutupandgivememurder.com. And if you haven't listen to Small Town Murder. Honestly, if you haven't given it a shot yet, there's been some particularly gnarly episodes lately that you really want to check out probably. So check out Small Town Murder. Honestly, we would not steer you wrong. Why would we bring you here and then steer you wrong? What good would that be? Finally, Patreon.com/Crime and Sports. Patreon this week is awesome. The episodes we just put up are pretty spectacular. I'm not going to lie. Just not to pat our own backs here, but the first one,
at minimum, it's a solid theory.
It really is good. So this is, and you get access to both shows, but Patreon, everything, all the Patreon at the $5 or above level. You get everything, the whole back catalog, tons of episodes to look at, and new ones come out every other week. We put up 2 new bonus episodes. So we did the congressional steroid hearing for baseball, which was pretty hilarious. Just hearing those guys, their indignity at the whole thing. How dare you? Bring me before you, and then failing a test the next month. It's hilarious. But the real crazy one here is Small Town Murders, which, again, you have access to at patreon.com/Crime and Sports. We did what I like to call Ted Bundy's Wild World of Socks.
Yeah.
And it is our theory, a theory I came up with reading I read his entire interview, right? The 10 hours of interviews, all of his. And there's a particular section where that was recorded where he's talking to his soon-to-be wife, Carol Boone, about socks, and it really puts everything into perspective. He
just gave us all a peek.
An obsession with socks, and basically, if you want your kid to not be the worst serial killer in American history, make sure they have as many socks and underwear as they could possibly desire. You have to listen to the episode to understand why, but check it out. Patreon.com/Crime and Sports.
And where the comfort is.
It's amazing. And on top of that, on top of getting all that good content, you are also going to get a shout out because we appreciate the shit out of you. So Jimmie will try his hardest hardest to say your name correctly while mispronouncing it at the end of the show. And they'll be because we love you. And if you just want to get your shout out and have our undying affection, you can do that also at PayPal using our email address, crimeinsports@gmail.com.
Right.
Right. That said, I think it's time to dive into this batshit insane. I mean, this is just, what a fucking mess. So every once in a while, we find a case that's just, I mean, there's bad people.
Oh, yeah.
And then there's bad.
They're everywhere.
Yeah, like for crime and sports, we've had some really, really shitty people.
Particularly heinous, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously for small town murder, everybody on the show's a murderer, so that's bad also.
There's always the worst each week.
There's people who haven't murdered on crime and sports who have done worse than murder. Yeah. And then the people who have murdered on crime and sports tend to have done it in like a spectacular with like fireworks going off in the background. You know what I mean?
A little further.
Like Jared Wyatt. Like, I'll remove the person's heart and then wait for the cops while holding it, still beating. Fucking weird shit like that. We've had, Joe's son going around being the most horrible... just doing horrible, sexual, disgusting shit, awful shit. And then we've had Buck Zumhoff, who seduced and I didn't even know, with his own daughter. Had a disgusting relationship with his daughter, and then kept her away from other people. And oh my God, we've had some real scum.
Yeah.
This guy, I mean, this is wild, man. It might take the cake. It really might. It's a top 10, I think, of pure scum. Just not good. We had the guy that killed Navarro's mom, for Christ's sake. Even, I mean, we've had some real scum. But let's talk about this particular utter piece of trash. And he is.
Okay.
Andrew Wadsworth is his name.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Have you ever heard of Andrew Wadsworth?
No.
Okay, yeah. Neither had I until I
In Denver, it's like a Main Street Wadsworth. That's the only Wadsworth I know. Yeah.
Yeah, and also the old defensive end from Florida State that I think played for the Cardinals, Andre Wadsworth.
Oh, yeah, and him too.
When I first found this, I was like, what did Andre Wadsworth do? Because I knew he was like a high draft pick, like a top 10 draft pick. I was like, oh, shit, what did he do? And then I'm like, oh, no, this is Andrew Wadsworth.
Andrew.
Completely different guy.
That W changes everything, huh?
It changes what continent you're born on, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
Rather than going to Florida State, you're born in England. So it's a way different guy. Completely different guy. He is born in 1983.
Mm-hmm.
Now, his family... or I should say his father made his family famous, because his family was really only his father. His father, you could say, made the family name infamous, we'll say, not really famous. His father ended up with a nickname and everything. So that's not good, especially in in England. They have a specific relationship with their tabloids there, where their tabloids go after things with a special kind of gusto.
Yeah.
Like here we have the New York Post and Daily News have silly headlines like back and forth, like the old famous
the National Enquirer.
Yeah, I'm like out of papers you have like, the wacko jacko on his backo thing, or that kind of shit.
Right.
But that's mainly like English shit. Here it doesn't really play like that. But over there, they love giving out nicknames and having rhymey things.
Wasn't the Sun doing that for a while, too? The Sun and the Enquirer did, like, wild shit?
Well, yeah,
the
they always do that. They've been doing that
right?
for... Yeah. The funny thing is the Enquirer publishes bullshit stories and squashes real ones that they get. That's the funny thing. That's what they've done. They've literally paid money to sit on stories for friends of theirs in high-powered positions that came in. So they spent hundreds of thousands of dollars. And then they've been like, Bat Boy born in Oregon. And you're like, what the fuck are you talking about? The other thing was all proof. And affidavits and, witnesses and all this type paperwork. And then you have Bat Boy and a picture of a hairy child. What are you fucking talking about?
Right.
So, this over there, though, this is, the papers and the tabloids tend to like to. There's like titties in the tabloids over there.
Really?
Like, it's a different
but it's in
game.
the news too. Like the weather girl's got her tits out.
It's a different game over there for news. They're really trying to get your attention. So, and then you watch like, BBC and it's very serious. But then like the tabloid stuff is like, hello, I've got my titties out and I've just wanted to say about the Bat Boy born in Oregon. We've nicknamed him, Patty McBattalot, and we like him a lot.
He's like, Piers Morgan, put your shirt back on.
Yeah, exactly. Jesus, Piers, come on. Get it together. And he starts spouting
Fucking
conspiracy theory.
He's a turd, man.
The fuck? Yeah, never. I'm not even going to get into it because people take it as political.
Yeah, people get mad at us.
I don't care. I'm not.
But objectively, he's a piece of trash. Just he's an asshole. That's all it is.
Well, I mean, just as a he seems like a douchebag.
He's a human being. He's a douche. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, regardless of politics.
Yeah.
So now, okay, like I said, his father made quite the name for himself. All right, so his father worked as the main groundskeeper for a lord. Okay. Which is like, that's the funny thing. Like in American towns, like it's not like, well, yeah, the lord of my town and on his estate, like that doesn't come up at all. So it's very odd when you hear like, oh, he worked for the lord of the area. You're like, what?
But evidently you can buy like a square foot of something in England to be considered a lord too now.
Yeah, it's also like I don't know if it's like a political thing or like a social thing, or I don't know exactly how it
Lord
goes
has become, the ability to be called a lord is like the ability to buy a star. Like online, it's super easy.
Hollywood. And then what's a star?
No, not a star on the Hollywood, like an actual star in the
like
sky.
A star.
Like you can buy a star.
You can buy one on the Hollywood Walk of Fame the same way too, though.
Too.
That's you just need to pay for it. All those stars, people celebrate it like it's an accomplishment when they do it. It's like, you bought it.
They paid for that.
You literally not only had to pay that, then you had to pay your publicist a bunch to do all this shit and make all this hoopla. So this cost you a fortune.
And you'll never visit it because nobody goes down that disgusting street.
It's the equivalent of throwing yourself a surprise party. Right. Like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. The thing that would make you happy isn't happening because you did it. Well, what the fuck? So that's kind of how, but over there, there's also the ones that have like these estates. And basically, they're all just like rich people. It's just a rich family. It doesn't, whatever. And that's considered a form of royalty if you're, I guess, rich enough. And then that's at least the way we see it. Again, we as we say with all of our episodes overseas, we do hope you find our ignorance charming because we have no idea what the fuck we're talking about. We're doing a lot of speculating, not on the crime parts, but on the cultural things because we have no idea. And it'll be fun to hear that we're wrong. Put it that way. We're trying our best. So anyway, let's hear you talk about some. Let's do a show on like NASCAR culture and we'll see what you have to say. Somebody sitting in Birmingham, England, and it's not Alabama.
Right. Let's see Birmingham, England. Explain to Birmingham, Alabama, what's the proper wedge in the car to get through turn 3.
or even better, American high school football culture. Explain that.
Tell us some more.
Explain why there's 8,000 people there to watch other people's children play sports. Can you explain? No, you can't. Exactly. And we can't explain why the fuck people are lords. So we're even. Enjoy. We can't explain why there's 8,000 people at a game either. So
it's just some guy in a cape that's too short to make him fly. Some shit cape.
So I guess this particular his father's father, so it would be Andrew's grandfather, worked for this lord's father as well.
Okay.
So this is like some sort of, groundskeeping lineage that goes on.
Incredible.
That's a strange legacy to pass down to your child. You're going to stay right here on this property and never move. Make sure those bushes are nice. Sorry.
It's very similar to Italian families passing down union contracts.
I guess so, yeah. That's true. Hey, when I die, you're going to get this garbage route. Let me tell you, you're going to get the garbage route. You're going to get it all. No, the strip mall down in Trenton, all of it. It's all going to be yours. Everything.
The shrimp docks are yours.
It's all yours. I got it for you.
Clothing department.
So, the the problem is, if you're Andrew, is this is like a country. These lords they have land, and they live in like a country estate.
Castle.
So, which is pretty cool, unless you're like an only child, because Andrew's mother died in child's birth. Child's birth. Died during childbirth. Child's birth.
Giving birth to Andrew.
Just giving birth to Andrew. Andrew's an only child, so it's just him and his dad. And his dad's like, groundskeeper. So basically, there's the castle, and then there's like little they have like I almost said crew housing, like it's a movie set, but like you know what I'm saying, like help housing basically on the property.
You want to say servants' quarters, but that's basically what it is.
I guess that's honestly what I was going for, and I couldn't think of that. So no, that's exactly what it is.
It's servants' quarters, and it just sounds like where the slaves sleep, but but they're being paid, so it's fine. Yeah,
it's still weird, but still, I get it. I mean, it's a job. So they have the cottages basically on there. And they're nice. It's like a nice place. It's not like they live in a shed or anything. They have nice accommodations and
running water and stuff.
Yeah, and this is passed down from his grandparents too through them. So it's all they have their own kind of. This is their family property that's not on their own property. That's so
awesome.
It's almost like
stinks, but it's awesome.
It's like a British trailer kind of, because like in America, that's what happens is like you'll get like grandma has a property, so you put a trailer on it in the backyard, like in Stevie, like in the Stevie documentary. Yeah. And
it's in the backyard, but it if you drove by it, it looks like another property, but it's just part of grandma's joint.
It's just part of it because it's a big property. But he works there, the dad, and Andrew's there, but it's very lonely for a young
I'm sure.
kid, because it's just him. He's got no brothers or sisters. There's no other kids around because it's the middle of the country. The only other kids around are the Lord's kids. And, they're not exactly, they're not on equal footing, let's just say.
No.
There's 2 boys and a girl that the Lord has. And the boys are older than him a couple of years. One's, I don't know what the exact ages are, but 2 years older. And I know they were in the same school, so I don't know if it's a K through 12 or however the fuck they do it over there or what, but they were in the same school. And it was a private school because that's the school that they all went to. And the kids would make sure to tell everybody that Andrew wasn't, he's only here because he lives in a trailer in our yard, basically.
Oh, no.
Yeah, they made sure to he's trash, just so you know. He's a servant's kids, and he doesn't really belong here. He's only here because my parents are nice. And we've taken care of their family for generations, so that sort of shit.
Don't pick on us, pick on him.
So pick on, exactly, that's what that is. I will pass that on to him, which that's a class thing that exists in very small places in America, but I don't know if this is common in England or what. I would assume in a private school setting in any country it would probably be
I'm
common.
Sure that's enormous there in any private school. If a kid doesn't belong there, and I mean, as if he doesn't have it hard enough, he lives in servants' quarters with his father on a property that they don't own, and his mother's dead giving him birth. The poor fuck.
Poor fuck. Yeah, now I'm picturing him like these kids are like the kid in Dutch that is yelling at the kid, "You're only here because your father's the janitor."
Right.
He's like, whatever, man. He walks away. That's basically what's going on here.
Exactly.
It's that sort of situation. And the Lord also has a daughter who's a year younger than Andrew. Now this obviously becomes an issue later on.
Sure.
Finally, Andrew's 16, and he's like a muscular kid and all that sort of thing. And she's 15.
He's working on the property, Jay.
Yeah, I mean,
he's yoked.
He's basically in line to take over groundskeeping at some point. He's going to become, it's like those father-son waiter teams in those old restaurants in New York City you'll see where the father's 80 and he's running coffee and the son is 45 and he's waiting your table. That's what happens. It's just fucking weird. So anyway, that's what's going on here. When he's 16 and she's, I guess, around 15 because she's a year younger than him from what I read, they end up falling in love, as they put it.
All right.
And it's a real Romeo and Juliet situation.
Yeah. Farm boy, Princess Bride.
It's more like Princess Bride. It's more As You Wish
for
here.
Wesley, yeah.
Poor Wesley. So The father, not thrilled, not his father, the girl's father,
Lord. Yeah.
the Lord, not thrilled with this arrangement.
No.
He ends up finding out about it, or I think the boys tell him about it. The boys found it out and told the father because they're real nice.
Rat bastards.
You little fuckers.
Prince Humperdinck!
They fucked this kid on every turn. He said they used to pick on him, too, when they'd just be around. They would always pick on him, and they'd, pelt him with fruit and shit. Like they would they'd play with him sometimes, and they decide, if we feel like being dicks now, we have Andrew here to pick on.
That's
because
the worst, man.
He's the trash help. So anyway, the Lord finds out. The father ends up being the Lord fires the father. So after generations with the family, he's done with them because of the son. Doesn't even say, like, keep your son away from my daughter. None of that shit. Gets rid of them. So they have this has been their life always on this property. They don't know where to go. You know what I mean? Like if you had
Is there a Craigslist for Lord farm work?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, you could try, but there's not a whole lot of these estates, and these jobs.
And you imagine if
they're
you're
generational,
right? And if you're in that group of upper crusty fucks that are called lords, they all know each other. Yeah. So he's certainly telling those, don't hire that guy. His son will fuck your daughter.
His son is super horny. He's going around humping your fucking daughter, and. Who knows? So his father they end up moving into apparently a very sparse little fucking flat that had no heat or hot water. And this is like 19 in the 90s. Like this is a very shitty area, a very shitty place. Apparently it was one of those places that just, the landlords they don't give a fuck, and they, it's take whatever the government's given them for subsidies and putting it in their pocket and saying no heat for you, fucker. So his dad ends up being he's in his early 40s. He gets sick from whatever the fuck he's doing, because he has a bunch of odd jobs. He's working in a factory one day. He's doing chimney shit the next day, like sweeping out industrial chimneys and shit like that, and has some sort of lung ailments. So basically Andrew blames himself for everything. Like his father's lost all of his status, all of his, his family's legacy, and everything that they had, it's lost because he was horny, is the way he looks at it. Which is, imagine that's a guilty. That would suck, man.
That'd make you kick yourself in your own dick a few times for sure, right?
You would definitely
physically or emotionally. Yeah, you're figuring out how to punish yourself for this.
That's what I'm saying. You'd be hurting. So anyway, oh boy, this is when it gets interesting. This is when his dad earns a nickname. Yeah. His dad apparently gets more ill and more ill here over the course of time. And one day, his father is late coming home from work, and he has he comes home from work, and that's that. Mm-hmm. He's home every day at the same time. One day he's late, and it's 8, 9 o'clock comes around. He's still not home. So Andrew's like, "What the fuck is happening here? What's up with Dad?" So obviously, Dad's been sick, so he's worried something happened to him. He's like 18. He doesn't really know to call hospitals and that sort of shit. And
sure.
You're 18, your dad's not home. What the fuck? You don't know what to do. You're like, I don't know. I guess he'll be home at some point. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
So anyway, finally, he gets a call from a cousin of his. Well, no, it's not what you think it is. What do you think is going on?
Oh, no. What is he arrested and he's been doing horrible things and the police have given him a nickname and they've caught the nickname?
Well, his cousin calls and says, "Hey, you might want to turn on the news."
Oh, no.
Right now. Apparently, after his dad got off of work one day, was none too happy, he went back to the estate of the Lord there. And
he exacted revenge. What'd he do, James?
He said that he left some property behind to the other staff there, and they were like, "Oh, they've known him for their whole lives, literally." Right. They're like, "Oh yeah, of course, come and get your property." They're not going to tell him to fuck off, and they thought the Lord was a dick for firing him too.
Good.
So they were like, "Yeah, get your shit. Fuck that guy." Who cares? So they let him in. His father goes into the service shed. And he ends up, well, basically, I can tell you what happened. I can sum it up this way. By the time the evening news is on, he is being dubbed the Royal Reaper.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
You got him.
He found a sickle. is why
my God.
he went into the house and slaughtered both the Lord and his oldest son. I guess the other ones weren't around. I don't know if he was ready for going for everybody, or if the oldest son was particularly a prick. Maybe he was the one who threw the fruit at Andrew.
Or he's the one that ratted him out.
Yeah. So he kills both of them with a sickle, beheads the youngest son, hacks at the father, can't get his head off apparently because his head's like half cut off. I guess a royal beheading is what he was going for. I'm not sure. Yeah. I guess that's the fate befitting someone of their status.
Unbelievable.
Then his dad, the police, when they showed up, they found him sitting on the front lawn, covered in blood, just waiting for them. Just sitting outside, just like, hi guys, how you doing? Nope, that's me. Yep, my ride's here.
Up there. Yeah.
Waiting for my Uber. That's all, like checking his phone and shit. 2 minutes away. All right. Waiting for my Uber. So the Royal Reaper. So Andrew is so... I mean, Jesus, who the fuck now he feels responsible for all of this, and now he has nothing and no.
Oh, he's got to feel homeless, James.
Yeah, well, that's the problem. Yeah, he has to drop out of the public school he's been going to because he got kicked out of the private school when his dad got booted, and he is forced basically to. He finds work in an underground fight club where he ends up learning MMA.
Wow.
Yeah, that's fucking...
That's a hell of an origin.
It is, and it's none of it is true is the fucked up part of it. At all. None of thing is true of that. Nothing.
The only thing true about that whole backstory is Piers Morgan's a waste of skin. That is fantastic. Royal Reaper, Jake.
The Royal Reaper. His name is Andrew Wadsworth, and he was born in England in 1983. That's true.
And he's an MMA fighter.
And in the end, he ended up being an MMA fighter. Everything between those two bookends, though, couldn't be further from the truth.
That's the best one yet.
That sounded really believable, didn't it? That sounded believable.
Almost a whole name with Andre Wadsworth.
And Andre, the whole thing, man. I think
that's
it worked.
Incredible.
I almost said his father could only get work as a chimney sweep, but I'm like, that's too far, right? We're picturing Dick Van Dyke then and shit. Like, we can't. That's too far.
I almost said, I can't believe all these prehistoric things that he's doing in 1998.
That's the tell, man. That's what I was talking about. He's doing like
all these 1920s things he's doing in 98 is crazy.
What's up with all the Downton Abbey fucking shit that his dad's doing? What's happening there?
Hysterical.
Oh God! Did his dad have to leave for World War I when the Kaiser was acting up? What happened? What the fuck is happening here? Sorry about that, everybody. But
incredible. They took shelter in 1998 from all the shelling happening to England.
Yeah, you know how that goes. It was very difficult. All the blitzkriegs forced him down into the bomb shelters, and things were bad for him.
Well, the shelling of London was particularly difficult upon this man in 1998.
It was. The rationing was tough. His mom was murdered by Jack the Ripper. It was difficult. It was just difficult all around for everyone.
Well, thank you for that. I enjoyed it.
No problem. That's. Hope everybody had enjoyed that there. So
we catch up with him in 98? Is that where we're at?
No. The reality of it is his dad wasn't around at all. Never really had a father. It's much more simple. It's way less of an origin story.
That's how you make an MMA fighter.
Yeah. No dad. Either that or the dad stays around and beats the shit out of him constantly. Yeah. We've had that too. That works as well. Get drunk, slap your kid around. Hey, he might be an MMA fighter. You never know.
You never know.
So he was looked after by his single mother. So he was raised by a single mother. He was a complete cut-up ne'er-do-well in school.
Sure.
Did shitty in school, cut up. You know, and I hate to say it like this, but you remember the kids who, and I was raised by a single parent, as you were, and all that sort of thing, but There was certain kids where they really pushed it to the limit of like my mom or my dad is at work or is here or is there and they don't like pay attention to what I do. So I'm really going to put the pedal to the metal. Remember those kids that were just like, well, mom's too busy. So haha.
She can't keep an eye on this shit.
Yeah,
right?
Fucking dad's got a girlfriend. So guess what? I can do what I want at night now. So I feel like he kind of had that sort of thing. He ended up really just kind of fucking off through school and not finishing school. And then he attended, apparently he was a wrestler in school when he was allowed to wrestle, when he wasn't in trouble for things. And so through his enjoyment of wrestling in his teenage years, he went to a place to start training to be a professional cage fighter at when he was 19.
Wow.
So that's how that happened. See, that's much more of a boring origin story. It's not as fun.
Or is it, though? Because when he was 19, like, MMA fighting was not near... Listen, man, it's crazy how fast that shit has grown.
Yeah. Even
it was nothing in 98, 99.
2002, that is, when he was 19. That's not... it wasn't real.
Yeah, it's nothing.
It was getting there, but it wasn't what it is now. Now it's like a legitimate thing now. It's bigger than boxing.
Once Tap Out and Affliction started selling fucking clothing for it, that's when it started to really boom.
Yeah. Hey, what's that awful shirt that guy's wearing? I gotta find out more. Hey, that dude looks like a tool. What's that on your shirt, bud?
That guy looks stupid. That sticker looks dumb on that big truck. What's that about?
Yeah, what's that? I gotta check this out. So that's how it works.
All the way from fucking side rail to side rail on the back of a pickup truck. Unbelievable.
Big, you'd see that shit. People
Huge.
were really proud of that shit. Or the whole back window. That's another one that would really... that's your whole window.
As he heads off to his fucking plumbing job. You don't even fight, sir. Why do you have that on your truck?
Oh, my God. I love... there was this guy in a neighborhood I lived in. This was probably 2008. And the guy that lived right on the corner on my street was like a low-level MMA fighter, but he had like a few fights. And he had this like lowered white pickup truck. Yeah. That it was like...
size?
I don't remember. It was a real sharp-looking fucking thing with like rims and everything like that. And it was lowered. And the whole back window was a... fucking really intricately done like dollar bill design or $100 bill design with his face in the middle of it.
Oh dear God.
And his nickname, which was, and it's a common nickname, I've seen 20 fighters with this, his nickname, Chocolate Thunder, under him. I was like, yeah, Chocolate Thunder.
That guy has
awesome.
big aspirations. He made a little bit of money, sunk it all into painting the back window.
Yeah, he lived in a shitty, in a shitty house. He lived 4 doors down from us in our shitty house, and it was
incredible.
Not great. So Wadsworth here, he fights under Andy. That's what he goes by, Andy Wadsworth, which is, I don't know. That's not a. If there's a list of threatening names, Andy's somewhere toward the bottom of that, I think.
And Wadsworth is a little lower.
Yeah, and Wadsworth sounds very proper and British.
Yeah.
Sounds
like the butler.
Yeah, Andy Wadsworth sounds like a kid who you could dunk in the toilet and get his lunch money, Yeah. So he makes his pro debut here on April 27th, 2008 at an event called Cage Gladiators 7.
Of course.
In Liverpool, this is. Mm-hmm. And he fights Tomaz, Tomasz. So, Tomaz.
That's Thomas as fuck.
That's, wow, man. They went all Thomas. They're like, get rid of that H and let's make that end a little more. I mean, it's got the S. I know it's a
snap.
But really, it's like a soubrette. When I bite into it, I want the snap of that hot dog, Pow. That's Thomas. Ooh, that's some good Thomas right there. Put some relish on that Thomas. His last name, Kozlowski. Here, another Z, so lots of Zs. He comes into this fight 3-1, and he finishes his career 4-2, so not a whole lot of fights after this. This fight only goes 2 minutes and 8 seconds into the first round before it is a submission occurs, and it's a rear naked choke that causes a submission, and Andrew loses his first pro fight.
Damn it.
Very quickly. 2 minutes and 8 seconds, he got choked out, and he's done. 0-1 for Andrew.
Behind the closed doors of government offices and military compounds, there are hidden stories and buried secrets from the darkest corners of history. From covert experiments pushing the boundaries of science to operations so secretive they were barely whispered about. Each week, on Redacted, Declassified Mysteries, we pull back the curtain on these hidden histories, 100% true and verifiable stories that expose the shadowy underbelly of power. Consider Operation Paperclip, where former Nazi scientists were brought to America after World War II, not as prisoners, but as assets to advance U.S. intelligence during the Cold War. These aren't just old conspiracy theories. They're thoroughly investigated accounts that reveal the uncomfortable truths still shaping our world today. The stories are real. The secrets are shocking. Follow Redacted, Declassified Mysteries on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcasts. You can listen to Redacted early and ad-free right now on Wondery Plus.
In the 1980s, a rosé swept the country.
Hey, Mike, I really like this White Zinfandel.
Well, good. Now put it down. We're going to try another one.
White Zin became America's top-selling wine. But most don't know that this sweet drink has a sour history. What began in 1986 with counterfeit bottles,
a big fraud, a multi-million-dollar fraud,
sent investigators chasing one of the most powerful families in the business, the Licciardis. But the closer the feds got to them, the more dangerous things became. It's a story of deceit.
At the time, I was paranoid.
Threats.
You touch my kids, I will kill you.
And murder.
With a .22 caliber bullet to the head.
What started with a scheme to mislabel wine spilled into a blood-soaked battle for succession. Welcome to Bloodvines. You can binge listen to Bloodvines exclusively and ad-free on Wondery Plus. Join Wondery Plus in the Wondery app, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify.
Not a real, banging start to his career there. Mm-hmm. You don't look at that and go, fuck, man, he's going to be somebody.
Sounds like you didn't really expect a guy to come from behind.
Something. I don't think he was prepared for that shit, obviously. July 27th, 2008, a couple months later here, he fights in Cage Gladiators 8.
All
so
right.
He must be, signed on with the Cage Gladiator team, I would imagine. Right. Now, this is, same thing. It's over in England. He fights Greg Johnston with a T. He is 1-0 coming into this fight. So 1-0 versus 0-1, and this is Johnston's last fight.
That's it.
This is it. This goes to the second round, and our Andrew here wins it by TKO after the doctor steps in and stops it. So he must have been pounding the piss out of somebody.
Yeah. For a doctor,
right?
No more. He can take. I haven't even checked him over, and I know he can take.
I know he can take no more. Now this was, I think, at the end of the second round. So I think doctor looked at him in between rounds and said he's not coming back out, type of thing. Because which you would think the ref would notice that first, being that they're right on top of the guys the entire time they're fighting by a foot and a half from them. They could smell their ass from there. Meanwhile, the doctor's in the first row of seating through a fucking cage.
But refs aren't necessarily doctors, are they? Do they have any sort of medical training?
No.
Yeah, then they wouldn't know, right?
No, they know what's legal and what's... I'm sure there could be a doctor who then also went into, to referee MMA fights, but that's not they don't say, we need some... some medical personnel to fucking decide which one of these guys is beating the shit out of the other one better. I don't think we need that kind of training.
Yeah.
No, he needs to go to school for 10 years. No, I want a residency. I want the whole thing. We can't have just a normal guy in there.
But the reason I ask, you're going to rest all your reputation of your sport on this fucking guy that has no, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they can get sued too for allowing the shit to go on if somebody dies.
It's happened. Yeah.
I would never want that job. Never, ever.
That's a tough job. It's one of those jobs where if you do it amazingly, no one will notice you. That's how you did your job amazingly well, is that nobody noticed you. The only way anybody notices you is if you fuck up. You're like a field goal kicker. You just can't win. There's no.
Well, you got Big John McCarthy, and then I forget the guy with the dreadlocks in UFC, and then you have Mills Lane. Outside of that, I know no fucking referees.
That's what I mean. Yeah, Mills Lane had to have his whole, his whole,
and he was a judge.
Yeah, and that's you have guys like that. I don't know. That's not really a full-time job. They're probably more like the NFL refs used to be, where they were.
Is it?
They worked in they did something else in the off season and all that shit.
I imagine the UFC guys are just doing that though.
They're probably under contract, I would hope.
Yeah.
If Dana White is not fucking having the referees making a living wage at least, so they don't have to be like fucking, working the counter at a QT in between events.
They're
Jesus
recognizable
Christ.
guys. They're in every big name fight. They're standing right there. And that's what Mills Lane was, too. In every huge heavyweight fight, he was there.
He was the guy. Him and Richard Steele was a lot of them, too. Remember him?
I don't.
Richard Steele, black dude. He's the guy that stopped the Julio Cesar Chavez Meldrick Taylor fight with like fucking 2 seconds left after Meldrick Taylor beat the shit out of him and was winning 11 rounds to 1 on all the scorecards. And then he went down with 12 seconds left or some shit. And during the standing 8 count, he waved it off. All he had to do was go, okay, you good, and wave, and the 2 seconds would have elapsed. The fight was over. That was it. Like, Chavez didn't even have time to get to him to continue the assault. And he waved it off, and that was when Chavez was still undefeated. He was like 75-0, and I was a little kid, and I lost my mind. And
cost him a win?
Oh, yeah, he cost this guy. It was sad. Meldrick Taylor's whole life kind of went off into the shitter from there. I believe we could do a Crime and Sports on him now, as a matter of fact.
That would be great.
He actually had quite the time. So anyway, Andrew Wadsworth is 1-1 now after this. I guess 5 days later he fights again, which seems like not enough time. I don't know. But hey, what do I know? Like I said, find our ignorance charming.
Or just find our care for humanity and civilization charming, because that's crazy.
Yeah.
You can't get into a ring and bash the fuck out of a guy and then 5 days later do it again.
And and this is the thing too, is we're not, even if you're not worried about him and you're like, well, I mean, fuck, his brain, his choice, he wants to get his brains knocked in. The problem is what he
doesn't hurt himself.
When we listen to the rest of the episode, it's kind of everyone else's problem is the issue after a while.
It's our
as
problem.
We'll find out. Very much innocent people's problem. Now, August 2nd, this is 2008. This is the Amateur MMA Fighting Championships 5. Now, he's a pro fighter, though. It's at the Holt Suite in Birmingham, England. Andy's fight is the main event. So it seems like there's like 20 fights under it. Seems like there's like an amateur tournament and then a pro fight at the end of it. Kind of like when there's a shit contest and they would have one of us close it out.
Yeah.
Like for a comedy contest, and they'd be like, all right, we know you can do 20 minutes, so in case everybody's terrible, you go on and make sure they don't go home super angry.
Nobody in the room knows who any of they are, and they also don't know who you are, but at least you'll make them laugh.
Yeah, we're pretty sure you'll make them laugh, and they won't be that angry about having to buy 2 drinks and listen to the rest of that shit. So I feel like that's kind of what's going on here.
Okay.
We'll stick a pro fight on. And he fights Thomas Kozlowski again.
Really?
So 2 guys in his first one guy twice in his first 3 fights. That's really very strange. This time, though, the fight doesn't get out of the first round again. 3 minutes and 11 seconds is the fight is stopped. It's a TKO by punches, and another loss to Thomas Kozlowski.
He can't fight this guy.
Stop fighting Thomas Kozlowski.
He's got too much Thomas.
Too much. I like his heart. I like his heart that the guy beat me up, choked me out in 2 minutes.
First fight.
In my first fight. Now I feel like I'm going to come back and get my fucking revenge. But now you look even worse because he didn't even choke you out again. When you were worried about that, he ended up knocking the shit out of you with his punches. He proved he could beat you either way, like any way he wants.
Any way you want to fight, he'll beat you. He's
going to beat your goddamn ass. So 1-2 for Wadsworth. So not exactly not breaking the sound barrier here in terms of a career shooting toward the heavens.
Yeah, it's already.
Not exactly happening. October 4th, 2008, he takes a couple months off, which is probably good for his brain. He fights in Cage Gladiators 9. Okay. So he loves them. This one's Cage Gladiators 9, Beatdown.
Okay.
I'm sure there's never been a MMA event called Beatdown done in the past before. That's very original.
They got to drop Gladiator unless they're allowing these people to fight lions. That's crazy.
That would be a show.
I know what a gladiator is. I know what history is.
And cage gladiators too.
Right.
If they're gonna do that, that's interesting. Now we're talking. You don't really need a ref at that
point, or else you ain't nothing.
Yeah, you don't need a ref at that point, and our whole other conversation would be pretty moot at that.
Nature will sort this out. Don't worry.
Yeah, it's whoever wins. You're not going to need anyone to tell you who the winner is. Put it that way. It'd be pretty obvious at the end of this. So this one, it's in Liverpool. He fights Carl Noon, like high noon, 12 o'clock, noon. This is Carl's pro debut.
All right.
And he ends up having a 7-3 career.
Great.
So good, Carl. Not a bad fighter. Shit, that's a 70% win percentage. Pretty goddamn good. Now, this fight goes all the way to round 3. 2 minutes and 26 seconds into round 3 when a submission finally happens from a rear naked choke.
Yeah.
This time, Andrew is the deliverer of the rear naked choke rather than the receiver.
It. Yeah.
He comes full circle to conquer the rear naked choke and get a win, and that will make him 2-2. Top of the mountain and grace.
500 record, grace.
He's 2-2 and got beat up twice by the same Polish guy. Grace.
This is
Perfect.
not going to be good.
This is, it's bad. Well, it does, because it gets worse from here, because he's apparently somehow injured in the Carl Noon fight and quits fighting. So that's the end.
Huh?
That's the end of his fighting career.
Wow.
Not a lot of sports in this episode. That was all of it right there.
Oh, that's got to be so depressing for him.
Yeah, I think we did 12 minutes of sports there. So.
His fake origin story was longer.
It was his fake. He had more fake origin than he had fights, which I can't make him fight more. That's how many fights he had.
It's not our fault.
He's like Joe's son, kind of like he's one of those.
Yeah.
Except I'm going to say a bit worse, honestly, and that's saying something because we know Joe's son has been in our top 5 for a long time now.
Yeah,
this guy.
At least Joe's son had a highlight that's worth watching, whether it's negative for him or not. It's a pretty damn sweet highlight,
especially for a fucking serial rapist.
Right.
There's no other serial rapist, I'm going to say, on the face of the earth that's ever lived where we have footage, like well-lit footage with huge lights and cameras, not like a cell phone, TV cameras of a not just some guy either, a professional fighter who really knows how to hit, just wailing away on this rapist nutsack repeatedly until he's just beats his ball bag into submission. We've never had that, I'd say ever. He's the only person ever. It's satisfying.
How that guy had the just natural ability to get an erection later long enough to rape anybody is mind-boggling after the blows he took repeatedly to that
Do you think maybe he's like had a hard dick and was like rubbing on the guy and the guy got mad at him for it and was like, "You motherfucking scumbag, I will beat this dick off your body. How dare you try to fucking..."
Perhaps all those punches, James, made that dick hard for the rest of his
life. Just ruined him.
Hard.
Man, they called the other guy the Viagra man from now on.
Tommy Cialis.
Tommy Big Blue Cialis. I'll punch your dick hard, mister. That's his fucking...
Forever.
I'm going to punch your dick straight and solid for the rest of your fucking life, mister.
You're going to piss out of a boner forever.
That's
Best
right.
Of luck.
Better learn a handstand, Chief, because it's happening.
You're going to plank a toilet. Watch this.
So he quits fighting. He's done. He ends up living in Burns Close. I don't know what the fuck any of this means other than this is in the greater Manchester area, like outside of Manchester. Burns Close, Worsley Mesnez, Wigan. I know Wigan. I know where that's a place. The other things, I don't know what the fuck, if that's like a neighborhood or a street or what the hell.
It's a village and a neighborhood in the town of this in Manchester. Yeah. They really narrow it down.
It's really specific. I might as well give me his address, his social security number.
That might be his address, James.
That might be his address, just no number. Now, Wigan is famous, by the way, in like the wrestling world for producing these very famous, they call them catch wrestlers, these very famous wrestlers who are, they're grapplers. But they have they're famous for having Billy Ray Robinson back in the day was one. He's the guy who fucking trained Buck Zumhoff shirtless in the front yard.
Oh.
Billy Ray Robinson, who is famous for being an English guy that stretches people because he knows how to do all this crazy shit that they all teach over there. I think Steve Regal, the wrestler, was one of those guys. They're really, really, really badass dudes that will rip your fucking body apart. They're just really...
And that's where this guy lives.
That's where he lives. So that's famous for this. They produce these wrestlers and these fighters that do this shit. They have the grip strength of a fucking, piece of industrial equipment. They're wild guys.
But it's a little bit late because he's done with wrestling and fighting now.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. His last fight's October 2004, and somewhere between, or 2008, somewhere between October 2008 and August of 2009, he really loses his motherfucking mind. and goes from, now we must also, I must say, before I tell you what he started doing, he is at this point suffering from a number of maladies. Number one, brain damage. He's got some brain damage. Number two, mental illness that requires medication.
Oh, no.
Mixed with brain damage. And he decided to put you know how you put some like bitters in a cocktail, it really picks it up, something like that.
Really kicks, yeah.
He's going to kick it up a little notch with doing a shitload of booze and coke, which... If you're mentally ill and you have brain damage and your brain isn't working right on multiple fronts, you really want to add some cocaine to that to make you reasonable. And booze, because that helps too.
When you're balancing that brain damage and mental illness with meds in the first place, absolutely sprinkle a little coke on that just to see how that kicks around.
You want to see how they interact with each other, Jimmy. It's a dance. It's a fine dance, and you want to see if they waltz. That's the thing. I wonder how coke and booze together. I like those together. I know that works together. How are they going to mix with lithium? Let's find out, shall we? Like that's a fucking roll of the dice right there.
That's like speeding up the music in you know what I mean? It's seeing how coordinated the brain damage, mental health, and the meds handle the faster music, and then sometimes sprinkle in a little dubstep when you drink too much.
That's the fucked up part. Is you have mental illness, you have meds, booze, and coke, and even if let's say somehow on some crazy chemical level, some weird miracle that they're just the perfect mix, and even those three all go together wonderfully and keep you perfectly humming, you also then have fucking brain damage that's going to screw the whole thing up. So there's this is just a cauldron walking the streets right now.
It's not good.
Well, and it doesn't take long between, you almost just want to get him in the ring. I don't care what's wrong with him. He gets his energy out. He's like a little kid that you're like, go run around for a while. Yeah. It's one of those. There's a Hindley, this is, near Wigan, in August of 2009. One of his little tirades left a guy with a fractured skull and a brain hemorrhage.
Oh, boy.
Well, you'd think maybe they got into some beef, a bar fight over a woman or something. No. There was a guy who was house sitting for his father, and wow, what he does, this is Andrew and an accomplice. They're wearing masks, and they throw a giant piece of pavement, like a giant block of asphalt. Yeah, like a huge giant piece of asphalt, throw it through the front door. That's how they make their entrance.
That's their key.
Like, yeah, if you saw that in a movie, you'd be like, that's fucking ridiculous. You know what I mean? Why are you doing that? But that's how they entered. They knocked the front door down with a giant slab of asphalt, with a piece of the road, and then, walked over I picture like dust coming up from the thing, and they walked over that, and they demanded money from this kid. By the way, this kid is there with his 17-year-old girlfriend as well, who is terrified, obviously, by this whole thing. Jesus Christ. He ends up they want money. He gets them 30 pounds. That's what he had, 30 pounds on him, the kid.
Like a lot?
No, it's not a lot of money at all. It's what a teenager might have on him.
It caused more money and damage to the place.
That door is going to be probably to the road they took that slab out of, too. So they do that. Andrew and his accomplice, though, are not satisfied with that amount of money and swear there must be more. So they beat him with a hammer over the head. A hammer, Jimmy. Andrew himself beats him with the hammer. hits him with the hammer, and then the 17-year-old girl, his girlfriend, tries to help him and cover him up, so they hit her with the fucking hammer twice too. Andrew hits her twice with the hammer as well, and eventually she falls over and goes over to her purse and pulls out pepper spray that she has. And when they start to come back to her, she sprays pepper spray everywhere, and that cleared the room, basically. The pepper spray, they ended up choking and coughing and running out of the room and taking off. And now the boyfriend has brain hemorrhaging and a fractured skull.
Right.
And she's been whacked twice with a fucking hammer.
And he's got pepper spray in his lungs.
And he's got pepper spray in his lungs. And now outside, down the street, they found a mask that later on will be matched to Andrew's DNA, which is not good. And on top of that, when they raid Andrew's home after this, they find a pair of Timberland boots, which perfectly matched the footprints found on the scene as well. So now you have your footprints and your genetic footprints together in one place, which is not a good thing. So he is going to be arrested for that, obviously. And he's going to be arrested for that and another thing that he does here, where he's in Liverpool and he is arrested for possession of an imitation firearm.
Okay.
In addition to aggravated burglary, because he apparently ran into a store and tried to rob them with a fake gun.
With a replica.
With a replica gun. I don't know if it was a BB gun or a replica or what the fuck.
Desert Eagle 5.0. 0.50. God damn it.
Some shit like that. He just had a Red Ryder. Walked in there with that shit. So,
I can't even say the word, but it's such a great movie. Sorry. I'm just quoting Snatch right now. Like crazy.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it's hard not to in this situation. I understand.
Movie. Yeah.
So he's charged with robbery, possessing a firearm with intent to cause fear or violence, aggravated burglary, and causing grievous bodily harm with intent. So for his robbery of the store in Liverpool, he's found guilty of that, and then he is also found guilty of the home invasion / robbery pavement door fiasco.
Hammer
so yeah, the Jesus Christ, the hammer beating. Yeah, he gets into court, and by the way, later we're gonna have maybe the longest, most scathing thing a judge has ever said to a person before sentencing.
I love the Brits.
You sir may fuck off. What we're about to do here.
Yeah.
Comes from the Gavin Grant episode, who's a British soccer player who murdered someone, and the judge wow, it sounded like it was like his ex-girlfriend's mother who fucking wrote this, like just leveling him to the ground.
Right.
And then that's why we were like, wow, that's like you may not only can you go to prison, you can fuck off. Like that is wild. So that's where that came from. Today, this is going to be the king / queen ultimate king shit of fuck mountain. You, sir, may fuck off.
All right.
So for now, though, he is given you, sir, may fuck off 15 years in prison.
My Christ.
Yeah, that's no joke. That is...
In 2008?
2011 is when he's sentenced for this.
The man should not be out yet.
Well, when you hear when he's in prison, too, it's not like he was there for a while, had perfect behavior, and was released. He had other problems as well. Right. In prison, he had some issues. And what the fuck? Let's talk about him.
Okay.
He's in prison, and he's at the Haverrig prison in South Cumbria.
Yeah.
Which sounds much nicer than I'm sure it is.
Sounds gorgeous.
Doesn't that sound wonderful? That sounds
South Cumbria alone sounds beautiful. Yeah.
Oh, the Havervig. Yes, that's Haverrig. Yes, that's where we go. It's our dream to go on a second honeymoon there.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, it's beautiful. The outdoor dining there is fabulous.
The lemon shrimp. Try it. I dare you.
So a bunch of what they call banned items are found stashed away in a service duct. Near and put there by him, apparently. They found a bunch of drugs, first of all, which you can't have. He also ends up admitting possession of 6 cell phones, which cell phones in prison are like gold. They're like cigarettes used to be, but more.
Sure.
Because you could have a cigarette if you were sad because you can't talk to your wife, but with this phone you can talk to your wife. You don't need, you can cut the middle. You don't need the cigarette. Like you can just, and not with like the bullshit collect charges and all that shit. You can just talk
listening.
to them.
It's just you and her.
Yeah,
you're going to need the
talk
cigarette for all the phone sex you're about to have.
You can do that. You can talk to your family, or you can also run a criminal empire if you feel like. There's a lot of things you can do with a phone. You can fucking get help from the outside in terms of find people to give you money and shit. I mean, Love After Lockup, half of that shit is because those people have phones in prison. Remember that one lady with the guy with the what the fuck was
chief?
Yes, you knew exactly who I'm talking about.
Right.
She
had like 30 dudes lined up.
Yeah, she had all these phones and pictures and was sending people videos. I'm like, well, where the fuck is she?
The amount of selfies she took was crazy. Like her tits out and her ass out.
You don't have a suite at the Hilton. What are you doing? You're in jail. Is there no supervision? What's happening right now? How are you doing this? How are you building this empire?
And then when she gets out, she's got all these guys on the hook that she can contact and get everything paid for her, like they were doing in there.
And in that, that guy said he gave her $90,000 in like a year and a half. And he wasn't the only one giving her money. So, wow, that's wild. In prison, you can spend that much. So anyway, he's there. He admits to being in possession of 6 phones, a sharpened screwdriver fashioned as a knife.
Yeah.
And some Class C what the fuck? Buprenorphine tablets? I don't even know what that is.
Buprenorphine?
Yeah, I don't know what that is. Buprenorphine? I don't know what that is.
I don't know. That sounds like fucking allergy tablets.
He was. They said it was a psychoactive drug in his possession.
Oh.
This is. They said, "quote." He was asked if these items were his, and he confirmed that they were. A search was carried out of his cell using a sniffer dog. The dog indicated an area within the cell which he was the sole occupant. So nobody else to blame it on there. They found the drugs. There was a duct in there, and that's where they put it. He had all his shit. He also had like legal contraband in there, like food and shit like that stashed away. This is like his little closet, his little treasure chest here. They said that he'd been there. He'd also been punished earlier in the year for having banned items in prison.
Yeah.
So, he's not been doing well.
No.
His attorney, though, said that, listen, since he got busted for that, he was segregated and all of his privileges were reduced. And since then, he's been an exemplary fucking prisoner.
Yeah, because he's got all these rules.
Yeah, he can't do anything. There's nothing else to do but unless you write with your own shit on the wall, there's really nothing else you can do that's that bad if you're... Right. Lose all your privileges and you're alone.
If you're not blocking the toilet and lighting your cell on fire, then you're a pretty good inmate.
You're doing amazing, staying alive in there. Good job. So now Wadsworth, apparently, he's also trying to plead that he has a partner who we never hear about again, and that he has 2 children who we never hear about again. This guy has 2 children, I repeat, according to his attorney. Now, I really hope not. We'll put it that way. So they said that, quote, it is them he wishes to focus on. This is his lawyer, the children. And it's for the children, everybody. and to behave properly for the remainder of his incarceration. He just wants to behave properly, Jimmy. Yeah. He's done with the shenanigans.
Just want to be a good guy.
He's going to go. He's going to lock himself down and he's going to be literally and figuratively. Yeah. He's going to be great. So the judge told Wadsworth that the 6 mobile phones were, quote, extremely valuable prison commodities, which they are. And of the makeshift knife, the judge said, quote, no doubt this would have been used had anybody had the temerity to take your stash.
Oh, boy.
So, because you got to figure after a pavement and hammer attack that, he probably means business with that screwdriver. It's not just to make himself feel better. And the judge added, quote, it's perfectly plain from your history that you are a serious professional criminal. Yeah. That's not what you want to hear from the judge.
No.
And he is given an extra, you, sir, may continue to fuck off. He's given an extra year of prison in his already 15-year prison sentence.
for phones and screwdrivers and all kinds of other shit.
Yeah, for this is the second time it's happened, and so he gets no love on that one. So you would think he's going to be in there for a while now, especially now. He's not going to. It'd be hard to get paroled after you just got an extra year tacked on for contraband, and
all this contraband. You got to get out of here, sir. You
have like a potential violent situation, and so we should let you right out. You know what? You know where pointy screwdrivers are not illegal? On the street. So
get out there.
Get out there. Well, in November of 2017, the parole board tells him just that. You, sir, may get out there on the street and make a fresh start of it.
Wow.
Look at you. Which seems like very soon. That's If he had exemplary behavior the entire time, was a model prisoner, you'd say, okay, like he did like almost half of it, I guess. Like, I don't know what their sentencing guidelines are there and, parole guidelines. But the fact that he just got busted 2 years before that and had an extra year tacked onto the sentence is fucking mind-boggling.
And given 15 years and you serve 6, and then they're just like, we can't do this with you anymore. You need to get out of here.
You need to get out of here. We don't want to keep an eye on you anymore.
Wow.
So it's weird. So in March of 2018, he meets a woman. Okay. He's out on the street, and he's been out of prison for 4 months, 5 months.
Yeah.
Not long. He meets a young lady, a woman named Melissa Belshaw, and she's a beautician.
Yeah.
Very, very attractive young woman. Very active.
Are, James.
Yeah, very active on social media and pretty and lots of pictures and all that sort of thing. And so you could see why a guy would be attracted to her, is what I'm getting at. And in addition to that, from what everybody says, seems like she has a very good personality and smart, bright. Attractive, basically.
Real good girl.
Good looking and smart and nice. That's the three of those. That's attractive, I think, right there.
Yeah,
that sounds pretty attractive altogether. So she, when he meets her, starts talking to her. They meet through a mutual friend. Apparently, a friend of hers had been at one of his fights back in the day when he was fighting, and that's how they ended up meeting, through that. So anyway, she was attracted to the idea of him being a fighter and such, apparently, from what the friend was saying.
On the surface, that sounds great. He can protect you.
Yeah, if you hear he just got out of jail for fracturing a guy's skull and beating a 17-year-old girl with a fucking hammer after he threw a piece of pavement through the front door, you might think twice, probably, but...
If you skip the 17-year-old girl part, it sounds like a tough guy, too.
Yeah, maybe he had beef with that guy.
Yeah.
Or maybe, who knows? And you could spin it, too. I mean, you could always spin it to where I had a drug problem, but now I'm fine.
Right.
But I don't think that's what it was, because these two had a very volatile relationship. And there was from what everybody said, there's a mutual interest in coke and drinking between the two of them. So... yeah, they like to party together.
Okay.
Which oftentimes will make... you would think that would make for a very happy couple, but it doesn't.
Forever, but it doesn't.
It doesn't. Then you just
seems
get
two
people with mood swings.
On the surface, sounds great.
Yeah, but...
they got common interests.
Yeah, but it doesn't work like that.
No, because those common interests oftentimes conflict. Timing matters. There's a lot.
You never find a couple that gets together and they both like weed, and then that turns out to be some terrible thing, and then they kill each other. That usually doesn't happen. Isn't that weird?
There's usually enough weed for both of them.
Yeah, they usually just stay happy and they find shows they like mutually, and they watch them a lot and order pizza and Chinese food and shit, and that's pretty much the extent of it.
There's never enough coke to keep a coke couple happy.
No, God, and then you booze too. If somebody's not getting that gas clutch ratio just right, who the hell knows what can happen?
Somebody's slipping the clutch, and then there's fist throw.
Wow, there's going to be bad shit going on.
And it smells like a burnt clutch in here.
You smell clutch and hair? I smell clutch and hair. It's not.
In the 1980s, a rosé swept the country.
Hey, Mike, I really like this white Zinfandel.
Well, good. Now put it down. We're going to try another one.
White Zin became America's top-selling wine. But most don't know that this sweet drink has a sour history. What began in 1986 with counterfeit bottles.
A big fraud, a multi-million-dollar fraud.
sent investigators chasing one of the most powerful families in the business, the Licciardis. But the closer the feds got to them, the more dangerous things became. It's a story of deceit.
At the time, I was paranoid.
Threats.
You touch my kids, I will kill you.
And murder.
With a .22 caliber bullet to the head.
What started with a scheme to mislabel wine spilled into a blood-soaked battle for succession. Welcome to Bloodvines. You can binge listen to Bloodvines exclusively and ad-free on Wondery Plus. Join Wondery Plus in the Wondery app, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify.
A few miles from the glass spires of Midtown Atlanta lies the South River Forest. In 2021 and 2022, the woods became a home to activists from all over the country who gathered to stop the nearby construction of a massive new police training facility, nicknamed Cop City.
At approximately 9 o'clock this morning, as law enforcement was moving through various sectors of the property, an individual, without warning, shot a Georgia State Patrol trooper.
This is We Came to the Forest, a story about resistance.
The abolitionist mission isn't done until every prison is empty and shut down.
Love and fellowship.
It was probably the happiest I've ever been in my life.
And the lengths we'll go to protect the things we hold closest to our hearts. Follow We Came to the Forest on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcasts. You can binge all episodes of We Came to the Forest early and ad-free right now by joining Wondery Plus.
Great. Yeah. So Melissa apparently tells him that she needs money. She also has a daughter, Melissa, at this point. She's like 11 years old, I believe, her daughter, when they meet. So, or 12. So they're, she's a single mom and she needs money. So he says that he wants to help her out and get her some money, and he likes her. Yeah. He described as being, quote, magnetically attracted to her. Like he just was in love with her immediately, and it veers into the realm that could only be described as obsessed, you would say, probably. And mental illness, drug abuse, and brain damage are going to play a huge part in this whole obsession. So anyway, they were into that shit together. Now, Melissa's mom, her name is Jean. She said that when she first met Andrew, he appeared to be what she called a real gentleman. Yeah. Appeared to be a real nice guy. But then afterwards, she didn't know about his past. She was just introduced as, this is the new guy I'm seeing. His name's Andrew. Oh, hello, ma'am. And,
even the boys on the In-Betweeners seem like nice gentlemen. It's just the accent.
Yeah. Jay can seem polite at first, you know what I mean? And afterwards, he's going to talk about frothing at the gash, and then what's going to happen?
So he throws the word clunge into casual conversation.
Yeah. And then you're like, okay, maybe not.
This guy's a scumbag. But he sounds so sweet.
He sounds like just so classy and nice. That's how easily...
best friend's dad bent.
A bumder. So that's how easily you can fool us, British people, like the episode of Arrested Development.
Yeah.
Where
it's all in the tone of how you say something that it could be interpreted as mean. It will sound fucking so kind because your accent is amazing.
It's so amazing that we wouldn't know how you meant it, and we'd be embarrassed to ask. That's how great it is. We wouldn't even be like, you saying something, motherfucker? We'd be like, I think, was that a compliment? I'm going to think about this for a minute. And then, of course,
I'll shake your hand kindly, walk away, and be like, that guy was so nice.
And then being British, obviously, you're able to fly, and then you just flutter your arms and get away from the situation. We all know British people can fly. So, anyway, Jean, Melissa's mom, then ended up finding out about, because this is like 2018, so this isn't 1994. In 2018, you can just Google a guy, and when you pull him up, you see bashed another dude's head in with a fucking hammer, and then went after his 17-year-old girlfriend, and then had sharpened screwdrivers in prison. And you go, oh, well, maybe this isn't for my daughter. Maybe this isn't the guy I really want. And pretty shitty MMA fighter on top of it. So
2 and 2.
2 for 2.
I'm more appalled by that.
Neither of these are good. So he starts, I guess, losing his mind or taking too many drugs or not taking enough of the correct drugs or or doing too much coke, or a combination of all fucking 5 of these factors, whatever. They all come together in late 2018, though, with a couple of incidents that are pretty fucking insane. They were living together, apparently. He's living with Melissa Belshaw by now, which is over just a few months. And it was on Moore Road in Oral. 2 R's, 2 L's, Oral.
Okay.
Just so you know.
It's a lot of oral.
That's a lot of oral. Oral. Yeah. It's with an E also. It's ORREL, but still, it's a lot of
fun.
That's
orale.
Yeah, it kind of is, isn't it? Yeah. I didn't even look at it like that because my brain's in England.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Spanish hello.
Hey. Oh, man, it is. Well, Spanish, really, or
it's
Southwestern
slang. Is what
I was going to say
Southwestern
United States. I don't know if they say that in Mexico or not. I think
they probably don't.
No, I think
it's
that's just
yeah. It's just Compton and South Central Mexican guys say it to each other.
West side of Phoenix, and so yeah. So anyway, the police have to come over in September because Wadsworth thought that there was an intruder in the house. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, it's at that point where he's freaking out, calling the cops. He thinks there's an intruder. He's stalking around looking to kill somebody. And it's his girlfriend, Melissa, tells the police that, listen, he has stopped taking his antipsychotics. Basically, we were just on a little vacation, and over the course of that, he stopped taking his antipsychotic meds. He has mental health problems. He's got a little bit of fucking brain damage, and he does other shit too. So this
could probably psychotic.
Yeah, this could all be in his head, really. Yeah. Like, don't look too hard. Basically, you don't have to check all the closets. This is just make him feel better type of thing.
Do a quick once over, clear the house, and everything's fine.
Yeah, this is probably in his head. Then the next month, in October of 2018, he is, according to him, he is attacked in his home that he shares with Melissa when masked assailants break into the house and beat him and attempt to beat him up. And he is so, fighting for his life that he must leap from a second-story window out through the glass where he fell and broke his back.
Oh, my God.
That's his claim. And not only that, he'll claim later that these were relatives of Melissa's and that she set him up for this. Okay?
Jesus.
That's his claim. Overall, that's his umbrella. Mm-hmm. Now, in reality, in non-Andrew Wadsworth fucking land, in reality, police were called to a chip shop, I guess a little French fry fish and chip place, on Church Street in Oral, after Wadsworth entered the shop covered in blood. Shirtless and covered in blood, which is no shirt, no shoes is one thing. No shirt and covered in blood with that skin. We're going to have to ask you to leave. I'm sorry.
Shoes or not, you got to get the fuck out.
Yeah. But I'm wearing shoes. I don't, sir. You are covered in blood.
A bit too much blood for us.
There are women throwing up over here. This is not great. Children are crying, sir. We can't have this. He is covered in blood. Officers found him in the chip shop wandering around in circles. He didn't put an order in. He didn't say, give me a number 3, pay for it, and just stand there bloody and wait for his order. He didn't know where the fuck he was. He was just wandering around. The police said when they found him, he was, quote, not coherent and also, quote, talking gibberish, which is...
boy.
And they were like, this dude is fucking wacko. Let's go ahead and bring him to the hospital.
Yeah.
And there's some nice people who'd like to have a chat with you, sir.
They got sponges and shit.
Yeah, well, they didn't know, too, if he got hit in the head, if he had a head injury, if he had mental illness, if he's...
At minimum, clean him up.
Yeah, not like they're making fun of him or whatever. It's just you don't know what the fuck's going on with this guy. You walk in, he could just be on a shitload of fucking... He could have taken too much acid. You have no clue.
Right.
What the hell's going on with this guy?
And if his blood's not his, we got some talking to do.
That's the other thing. So police decide to go to his house and find out exactly where the fuck the source of this came from. And they found blood stains all over his bedroom that were found to be his. and a bloodied lock knife, like a folding knife that locks, in his front garden. So they believe that he jumped out of his own bedroom window and just broke through the glass, fell, cut himself all up, and they think he dropped his knife on the way out and then wandered off down the street. And Melissa said she wasn't home when it happened. Now, according to him, masked people broke in while they were on the couch watching TV. She said she wasn't even there and had left the house earlier that day because he was, quote, acting strangely, and she didn't know what he was talking about, and he was just saying things that didn't make sense and was on another planet, basically.
He was going off the deep end.
So she just took off, and this is what she comes home to. Wow. The glass all over the front yard, and a bloodied guy walking around the chip shop. So it was a problem.
Anybody with a big heart that gives a shit about anything has to blame herself for walking out in a time of need, and then this happens.
You would think that, though. Here's the thing. This is where the line's drawn, I think, too, because obviously you want to help people that have mental illnesses. Yeah. Clearly. You don't want to fucking be like, oh, fuck that guy. That's not what you want to do. But if the person has mental illness and refuses to take medication and then drinks a shitload and does coke, I'm sorry. Like, what am I supposed to do at that point? Like, you can't. If I don't know how to help somebody, especially if you're their girlfriend. Right. Like, you're not their mother. What are you supposed to fucking do for someone who is literally dangerous, a danger to themselves and others? They're not making sense, and they refuse to do the even minimum thing of stop doing a shitload of coke and try to help yourself. Right. Like, it's not even like, well, we'll try to talk him into taking his meds. It won't matter. He's drinking and doing coke, so who gives a shit? He could do all the meds he wants. He's still fucked.
But in that moment, as somebody in a shitty situation, she's got to be assuming that she contributed to this even a little bit, which sucks because that's going to keep her in the situation thinking she can help.
That exactly. You know what? That will. She might think she can help and all of that, but he ends up going back to prison in January of 2019
as a violation of the probation or some sort.
Well, not for that, because he's not really charged for anything for that, because he's just they think it was just a mental health incident mixed with drugs. But what it does do is make his parole officers, or whatever the English equivalent of parole officers are, want him to take drug tests now because he they think he was maybe a little on something. And immediately in January of 2019, he fails his test for cocaine because he's doing it like crazy, and he is sent right back to prison. Yikes. Which, that's not good. But for Melissa, it's very good. This is not a break. She starts over. This is her, okay, I'm done with this guy. I need to start over and reclaim my life because her whole life as lately has been, if you got a guy that gets erratic and jumps out of the second story window and the cops take him, like, your life that's a lot of it right there.
And that may seem like an event, but that event it culminates with like other little things, and she's probably her day to day has got to be a mess.
Yeah, it's fucking constant. Like we said before, he was confused before that when he called the cops because there was people there, because he was all paranoid. He was on a shitload of coke and all paranoid. That's all it was. So she starts over. Her mom, Jean, says, quote, she saw it as a new start, and she began making plans to open her own beauty parlor. Terrific. She had found a premises, and she was really excited about it. She said, my granddaughter was 13 and doing really well in school. Melissa is a wonderful mom, and she has a heart of gold. Life was going so well for her at that point. So with Andrew gone, she can pull the pieces back together, because it's almost like, what the hell is that goddamn game? Perfection? Was that the one where you're trying to put everything in and then they all pop if you don't get everything in the spots in time? There was that fucking game. It's like from the 90s, and I think it's Perfection. There's a timer, and you have all these fucking things, and you have to put them in the proper places. And if you don't do it by the end of the timer, it just goes poof, and the whole thing pops like, and pops all out of place, and the pieces go everywhere. And you go,
this right.
fuck, and then you throw it across the room.
You didn't do this right, so now clean this shit up? Is that what it is?
Yeah, it just goes, and it's all fucked. It doesn't just go up, you lost. It goes, fuck you. Everything you did was garbage. It's a horrible game.
Chase these pieces around your room now. What the fuck? I hate that game.
That's what he was in the fuck. Well, especially when you throw it across the room, then you're never going to find all the pieces. So she looked at this as that's what he was. He was the timer that went off and just fucking scrambled her life every once in a while when he went off the deep end and she'd have to start over all the time. So at this point, though, it's going well. But he keeps in touch with her, and he's trying, in his mind, he's trying to stay in a relationship with her, but she is like physically moving on, doing her thing, trying to separate from him. I don't know if she feels guilty while he's still talking to her, why she's still talking to him or what. But in September 2019, Andrew is still in jail.
Yeah.
He, at this point, really, really, really starts going off on her and accusing her of several things.
Yeah.
First of all, cheating on him.
Of course. Yeah.
Obviously. And now he has added a new wrinkle, though, to the whole thing. Not only is he accusing her of cheating, but she is also, in his mind, working as a prostitute.
Fantastic.
He says. So you are a cheating prostitute, is what he's telling her at that point. So
I know what you're doing.
Yeah, I don't know if that's supposed to ingratiate him to her or what. I don't know what he's thinking, but I don't think it works very well. But he keeps it up all the way up until March 4th, 2020, when he gets out of jail, finally. So he ended up, in the end, doing... Fuck, that was another couple of years, yeah. Well, he went in 2018, right?
He did, yeah.
Yeah, January 2019. So he did another 15 months.
Yeah, year and 3 months.
Well, that's what you get, fucker. So he's released
Can you imagine going in at the beginning of 2019, coming out in the middle of 2020 and being like, what the fuck happened? That's
March 4th, 2020, too.
Oh, right man.
Right in the beginning of the fucking world fall. Like, what's happening now? I haven't seen the news in so long from prison. We just never. What the fuck?
No, I just got out of being in jail. You're going to put me back in my own house in jail?
Yeah. Well, yeah. He gets out of jail. He's released. He is sent to live in an approved halfway house type situation that they have for him. But he, in the end, because of COVID ravaging the country there, he is allowed to move to his mother's address within 2 weeks of getting out because they were clearing everybody they could out of those type of places. Anywhere, anybody who had somewhere to go, they were sending them there. You're out of jail, good enough, fuck off, get out of here. So he does that. So he's out of jail. Obviously he's made some bad choices.
Yeah, a lot.
We'll say he's made some real bad choices, but he's at his mom's house. They're trying to ride out COVID. They're ordering food all the time. They're trying not to go out because England really went into there was a lockdown there. Yeah. It was a pretty solid lockdown. So to order in, they're doing all this shit. One day they're expecting food, I assume, fish and chips or shepherd's pie or some kind of, I don't know what the fuck. Yeah, some shit. Anyway, there's a knock at the door, and obviously they're expecting just a delivery person, Some
put the boiled ham on the stoop, please.
Yeah, just put it out. Yeah, put the boiled ham and curdled milk out there. Yeah, we'll eat it when we're done. Put the clotted cream next to it. Thank you. So they do that. It's persistent. This motherfucker. So their masks on and everything, and they go to the door. And who is it? Guns blazing.
Yeah.
Maskless as fuck. It's the Mexican pimp. Yeah. And he says, how is it you've come to arrive here?
Yeah.
Why are you here? You're in your mother's house. Why? When there is woman out there, you do it all so wrong. You do it wrong. You think she work as a prostitute. You do. Well, I don't think maybe you should say, if you're going to do it anyway, maybe give me the money instead. Why don't you think? Think. And you don't do the cocaine. Give to the woman to control. What is wrong? What the fuck is wrong with these people? I don't understand. Why?
Yeah.
Indeed. Hello to you as well, sir. Thank you. I am disgusted with you, sir. You are a disgrace to your people. Goodbye. Poof. And in a poof of feathers or not feathers.
Tequila.
I was thinking tequila feathers. Feathers.
Tequila feathers.
And 6-shooters.
$10.99.
He's gone. It's so funny because that's maybe the most offensive one, and it's the only one that's a real person, which is hilarious. So it's not offensive at all because it's actually an impersonation of a real human being. Exactly. But he was even worse.
Yeah.
So now he's out of jail, like we said, and this is March 4th he gets out. For the next 2 months or so, he's just making Melissa's life hell. Just fucking hell. They're
harassing.
Well, yeah, they're together, and he's there, and he's fine, and then the next day he's fucking doing a ton of coke, and he's acting nuts, and then they're doing coke together, and they're getting along, and then he's drinking too much, and he's crazy, and then he's threatening her, and then he's leaving, and it's a lot, man. It really turns into just a lot. I feel bad for her, and I really feel bad for her kid at that point, too. The 13-year-old. That is a shit fucking... I hate that. Instability sucks when you're a kid. It really does. So, they had a fight on May 19th, the night of May 19th. They have a fight the night before. They were both doing coke and drinking, and they had a big fight, and he left, basically. That's how it works. So at least he left. Yeah. No harm, no foul, okay? They just got in a fight. They're all coked up and drunk. It happens. So Andrew shows back up the next morning at 10 a.m.
Yeah.
In a taxi, okay? The taxi had picked him up from his mother's house, but they made a stop off before they got there.
Bagel shop. That was nice of him.
Well, isn't that nice? He's going to bring, there and then the flower shop, obviously, because he's going to bring.
Yeah.
Well, no, you're going to bring like a dozen roses to apologize, clearly, for your behavior the night before.
Look, flowers and baked goods. Come on in.
Yeah, the baked goods. You bring, I don't know, tea, I guess, over there. I don't know whatever the fuck they're doing. So, right after that, he also stops at Bargain Booze.
Oh. Not
Bargain. Boobs? No, not boobs. Bargain Booze, where he buys, this is a supply, 4 bottles of vodka.
10 a.m.
4 at 10 a.m. and 2 bottles of Coke. So I don't know what. Yeah, vodka and Coke sounds not great at all. It's a very odd combination, but apparently that's his jam. I don't know.
Unless that's how he
chases
the shots. That's crazy.
Maybe. Well, the bubbles will kind of clear that sensation out of your mouth, you know, if it's straight Coke that's not watered down with ice and booze. So, he shows up, and this is when they get into this fucking fight where he is just on her about, you're cheating on me, you take money from me, you do blah, blah, blah. He's just on this whole thing, right? He wants her to admit that she's a prostitute, admit you have other boyfriends.
Yeah.
He will claim that she admitted that she's not a prostitute, but that she, the way he said it, had a sugar daddy who would pay her £1,200 a week as like a, whatever, just like
a helper. Yeah.
And that happens. That's a very common arrangement nowadays. So anyway,
God, Jesus,
and we don't know if this is true or not, too. This is what he said. So no clue if that's true or not. He, I wouldn't put anything past him. So lying is definitely something I would say that he's.
It's on the table. Yeah.
It's on the table, especially, or not even lying. He might think he's telling the truth is the other thing, because we have no fucking idea. He thought he was attacked by 2 masked people while he was sitting and watching TV. Meanwhile, he was alone and jumped out of a fucking window.
Fair.
So anything's possible. He then interrogated her for a long time, for, a good half hour over her any kind of possible sexual relationships. anything like this. This is fucking abusive bullshit, by the way. You know, if you think someone's cheating on you that much, then go fucking find somebody else. Don't
why do you need the confirmation too?
Yeah. What do you think? Screaming at them is going to make them more attracted to you and less attracted to other people? What the fuck is wrong with you? It's over at that point.
If it did happen, screaming doesn't erase that. Screaming doesn't unsuck that dick. Stop it.
It doesn't. That dick will remain jizzed from now until eternity. You can't unglaze a donut, my friend.
Get out.
Yeah. You can't unglaze a donut. You know what I'm saying? Am I right or wrong?
You're dead ass right, James. You'll never get that glaze off of there. It's done.
Give it up. It's on there, bro. This is ridiculous. This like thing of I've been wronged and now you're like a mafia boss who's been disrespected. Right. Get over it. It happens. You know? Go find
tell
someone.
your friends about it. It'll be fun. Yeah. Just get out.
Exactly. Fuck you doing?
No matter which side it is. It's crazy.
Man, I guess she was doing coke at the time as well, and that morning they were both doing coke, and the argument had escalated, and she was a strong person and wasn't going to give in to his shit, basically. She wasn't going to be meek and say, oh, yeah, you're right, I'm such a bad person. She was like, fuck you, bro.
Yeah.
You know? So, I mean, good for her.
She's innocent. She should maintain it. You didn't do it.
Yeah, he had all these suspicions. He believed that she'd been involved in sexual encounters also with people that he knew. Friends, neighbors, things like that. He was accusing her of that sort of shit. So it's fucking wild. There is a video during this part of the day of a cell phone video recorded, and it shows an exchange between them. And later on, the court will say, quote, it's obvious they were intoxicated and the atmosphere was unhappy. Yeah. That's what they said. And that's from the video, I guess that's what it is. I mean, you can tell they're both fucked up.
Slurring words and loud voices.
And they're both upset. And this is midday, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's just, it's tough. So at that point, though, Jesus Christ, this is fucking wild. All right. He keeps at her about the interrogation. She wouldn't admit to everything. So he ended up at that point going into the kitchen, and he grabs a pretty goddamn large knife.
Yeah, because that's where the cutlery is. That's where you go.
And comes back and interrogates her a little more. She's obviously like, what the fuck are you doing with this knife? And he just begins to stab the shit out of her. He stabs her repeatedly. Oh, by the way, her 13-year-old daughter's home for this.
Oh, no.
Sticks her head in the door here and says, what are you doing? Why are you doing this, Andy? What the fuck are you doing to my mom? And we'll talk about what happened to her as well. She's unharmed by him. We'll say that much. But he apparently we don't know if it's true or not, but it's alleged at this point that at one time he grabbed the daughter as well and held the knife to her throat, but then let her go and then went back to stabbing Melissa. So that is what we have. He stabs her until she's dead, and then he puts a pile of clothes on top of her in her own bed and just walks out, ends up climbing out of a window here. Now, the police are alerted by Melissa's 13-year-old girl calling the police, calling 999, which is their 911, and and making a call. My mother's being stabbed and all this shit. It's fucking incredible. It's heartbreaking, obviously. It's at that point where a guy outside heard the kid and heard people yelling and screaming and heard the kid yelling on the phone. So he had a hammer and he smashed out her window and helped her out of the house.
Oh, thank God. What a
helped
hero.
the 13-year-old out of the house. So that was amazing because the doors were locked and she couldn't get out. He had locked her in there. So now Melissa, poor Melissa, Jesus Christ, her body is under a pile of clothes there. And so the man helps Melissa's daughter out into the street. And he says, quote, in the aftermath of the killing, Wadsworth then came out onto the street. He was still armed. He was still dangerous, and his intentions were plainly murderous. he comes out into the street, and we'll get into we'll go detailed on it in a minute here because we'll go blow by blow. But he comes out into the street still holding a very large butcher knife,
covered in blood.
Oh yeah, he just stabbed the fuck out of Melissa. He ends up seeing. He's mad that somebody interfered and broke the window and got the girl out. Then he has a little encounter, and we'll talk about what's said. But he has an encounter with a man out on the street who had nothing to do with anything. And he ends up rushing this guy with the butcher knife. And I have a picture here because it's on closed circuit TV. It's on fucking surveillance footage of him just lunging at somebody with a giant butcher knife who's like, holy fuck, like running away. I'll post it on the social media. It's fucking insane. It's absolutely insane. So he ends up, this is a guy named Jared Bristow. He ends up pinning this Bristow to the ground and stabbing him in the chest and head.
Holy shit. The guy that he lunged at?
The guy that he lunged at. He's repeatedly stabbing him. The guy who helped the 13-year-old get out of the house then runs up and kicks Wadsworth in the leg, just runs up and like kicks him and runs away to try to get him off. This distracts him enough to where he like turns to see what that was all about. And it's at that point where the police arrive. And then it becomes a real fucking melee after that because he's not going to be taken easily here. Mm-hmm. So the other guy, the guy that got her out was Kevin Moores. That's the hero here. He heard the voice of Melissa's daughter from the bedroom, and he heard it was cries for help. It was locked, so he used a hammer to smash out the front door window, pull her outside, and that's what obviously pissed him off here. So then I don't know I think Wadsworth thought the guy he stabbed, I think he thought that was the guy that interfered in his house.
Of course, yeah.
That's what happened.
He thought he had something to do with it for sure because he's psychotic.
Yeah, it's absolutely. But he ended up carrying the daughter, took her upstairs and put her up in his apartment and was like, stay here, fucking lock the door and stay here. So another neighbor said he saw this whole thing. He said he saw the man breaking the glass and taking the girl out. He said, quote, I heard these loud noises, and when I looked, I could see a man was smashing the glass door open with the golf club. It was a hammer, but that's fine. He was looking down. He said, the lady came out of her house and moved up the road, and I heard her daughter shouting, call the police. It was like there was a scream for every blow, and it went on for about 2 minutes.
Oh,
it was absolutely terrible. Think about that.
God, sustained.
Yeah, 2 minutes. He has a coked up person with brain damage has a lot of energy to sustain, and he did. And 2 minutes of a sustained stabbing attack where she was alive for much of it. That is fucking horrific. So Gerard Bristow, the other victim who got stabbed, he's 46 years old. He said, I heard her daughter screaming, saying, my mom's been killed. Me and this lad, Kevin Moores, we were stood there wondering what we do next. He said, do you want to go in the house? I said, yeah. And before I knew it, there was Andrew Wadsworth trying to climb out of the smashed porch window. So they took her out, put her upstairs, came back down. What the fuck do we do now? They're standing there, and all of a sudden, he just emerges from this window that they just broke with a knife in his hand. They said that there was a can of Coke that was on the wall right by there. He grabbed that and guzzled it. I don't know. He's thirsty. He's very thirsty. Bristow said, quote, we were stood behind the car. They hid behind a car. And at that point, from a distance, Bristow asked Wadsworth a couple of times whether the woman inside the house was okay. You know what? I don't think it even matters to ask.
No.
Let's just call the paramedics and cross our fingers because I heard a 2-minute sustained attack and now I'm not hearing anything. So.
And a man came out a broken window carrying a knife covered in blood. I think she's got some injuries.
And then was like, I'll drink this Coke off the wall that I don't know where it even came from. I don't care. It might have been one of his. Yeah, I'll guzzle all these answers. Bees in there. He doesn't fucking care. So he said his answer on the second or third time was, quote, all I want to know is where is the scouser next door. What's a scouser? It's a British term. SCOUSER. I get it's something negative.
Yeah,
I just don't know.
Yeah,
clearly derogatory. If he's saying it, it's probably derogatory. So
sending him a poofter or something.
Something like that. He said that he had never met Wadsworth before, and he said just by his body language and his manner of speech that he could tell he'd been drinking or taking drugs and all that, but he thought that he didn't pose him a threat. He thought that he seemed like he was fucked up, but it didn't seem like he was going to attack him or anything. Just seemed like he was kind of disoriented. You know, like, hey, buddy, can I help you out? You all right there? Why don't you just take a seat on the stoop and hand me over that knife? One of those type of things. He said, though, that, quote, within a heartbeat, just from 1 second to the next, he was just a nice guy to, out of nowhere, he said Wadsworth ran toward him, pulled out a large knife, and got on top of this poor guy and started stabbing the shit out of him.
Wow.
He said, quote, he was suddenly on top of me. He pulled a knife out of his trousers down to his left-hand side, and that's when he started coming at me with the knife. I believe he got my ear, going for my head, obviously, but he managed to take a part of my ear off. It was hanging on.
My God.
Unfortunately, I had flip-flops on at the time. I wasn't really prepared for this. He wasn't prepared for life or death combat on a fucking, Thursday afternoon walking down the street.
That's what flip-flops do say about you. Unprepared for hand-to-hand combat at the moment.
I'm not prepared to fight at all. I'm in a casual day. So one witness said he saw them fighting. He said he saw two men fighting next to the one-stop shop there. He said, quote, they both fell into the middle of the road. I had to swerve around them. So they almost got hit by a car on top of everything, this poor bastard. He said the man on top looked to be trying to stab the man on the floor with a large knife. Okay. By the time I had passed, the police were on the scene. So he had Bristow ends up with all sorts of wounds to his chest and head, a partially severed right ear, and a punctured lung where he was stabbed in the fucking.
Yeah.
He really fucked this guy up good. This is, like we said, the Moores guy came up, kicked him in the leg, and that's when the Bristow guy managed to crawl away, and then the cops showed up. And
he saved his fucking life with that kick.
Oh, he definitely saved his life with the kick. Absolutely, because he was just stab, and that kick made him go, what the fuck was that? And turn his attention. The Bristow guy said, quote, this is how normal of a guy this was and how abnormal of a situation this was.
Yeah.
This all seems normal on Crime and Sports.
Yeah.
That's the thing. We hear, he murdered a girl, then came out into the street and started attacking innocent bystanders with a knife while saying incoherent shit. Yeah, okay, that fits. That's normal.
Yeah.
But then when you put a normal person in the situation, you go, wait a second, this isn't right at all. This guy says, quote, it's bizarre. I'd finished a conference call 2 minutes before, so I wasn't exactly prepared for anything. Working from home, going down in my flip-flops and shorts. It was very much a strange situation.
And he's got a knife plunging in and out of his chest.
Yeah, he was just like, what the fuck, man? He didn't expect that at all. So now the cops, okay?
Yeah.
The police officers show up, and the first cop who tries to apprehend him, it's two at first, he delivers a roundhouse kick to the one.
Roundhouse to cop?
He roundhouse kicked the cop, the first cop. And then he also, later on, once they finally got him in custody, this was two female cops that showed up too. He roundhouse kicked a female cop, and then the other one got him, and then the roundhousee came and fucking jacked him up too, and they both got him and fucking dragged him inside, got him to jail. Once he got into jail, he also punched a police officer inside of his cell once they uncuffed him as well. So he's fucking dangerous, man.
He's a problem, yeah.
Huge problem. So Jesus Christ, man. They said that the police were saying that the Kevin Moore's guy who saved the daughter saved the child from, quote, incalculable peril.
Yeah.
It's pretty calculable, actually. Look at her mom. That's exactly the peril. You can calculate it.
We calculate the shit out of it. She's dead. She would have been dead.
Yeah. He also said that, this is the prosecutor later, said that the police officers were, quote, plainly outmatched by the spectacle of this defendant, which I think is the spectacle of this defendant is a great way to put it.
He's saying
but they did
those gals weren't MMA fighters?
No, weird, right? They were just cops.
Ronda Rousey didn't show up? What the fuck?
That would have been great. She started kicking his ass. What the fuck, man? Is that a rear naked choke? Ah, fuck. I lost
She'd
twice
take a
by
boot
this.
to the head and it'd be over anyway.
Yeah, done.
That's
so
right.
they ask him, what the fuck, bro? Like, what happened? Were you stabbing people? And he said, quote, yeah. She was stabbed, and she's dead, isn't she? Which is, she's dead, isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't it? So, on the more heartbreaking side, the 13-year-old daughter had to phone Jean, Melissa's mom.
Oh, God.
And tell her that, her mom has been attacked. This is right then. She gets up into the other apartment and calls. So she's calling her grandmother while shit's still going on in the street. So as you can imagine how quickly a mother would jump into their car and be there, very, very quickly. She pulls up. She says once she gets there, she said that she gets there and sees tape and cop cars and a helicopter circling. And she said she hoped that wasn't for Melissa, but she was. And they said that she suffered a, quote, series of deliberate stab wounds inflicted with what they called severe force.
Yikes.
He absolutely took her apart.
Yeah.
Yep. And he's such a big, strong guy, too, who's lost his fucking mind and is on coke. So they also found out, too, that Jesus Christ, this is so sad. The little girl tried to perform CPR on her mom. That's how brave she is. She walked into that scene and said, I'm going to try anyway. That's when he put the knife to her throat, allegedly, and that was that whole fucking thing. So, Jesus Christ, man, that is horrible. While he was standing there with the knife, she ran in between them and tried to save her mom. That's fucking brave, man, for any age. 13, that's wild. So she says, my 13-year-old granddaughter rang me for help, saying that her mother was being stabbed. I could actually hear Wadsworth screaming and yelling in the background as he stabbed her. I felt so helpless. I thought I could go to the house and save her. I thought she was injured. I never imagined she was dead. It hit me like a sledgehammer. I had to tell my granddaughter that her mummy had gone to the angels. Jesus Christ. Andrew Wadsworth, not Andre. Sorry, Andrew Wadsworth. Draft bust maybe, but not a murder. Andrew Wadsworth took away my only daughter, and I can never forgive him. He is the devil incarnate.
I would say so.
He is the devil incarnate, this motherfucker. She said that Wadsworth was hassling her daughter the day before and on May 20th, and the daughter ended up going to the grandmother's that morning for a little while. The daughter wasn't there when Wadsworth arrived at the house. So she said, quote, I was angry. I didn't want him anywhere near her. My granddaughter spent a few hours with me before going home around 2 p.m. I told her to call me when she got back. I didn't hear from her, and I had an uneasy feeling, and I kept ringing her, and there was just no reply. I thought I was being neurotic. It wasn't unusual for a teenager not to answer a phone.
Yeah.
But at 3:20 p.m., my granddaughter called me hysterical, saying Wadsworth was stabbing her mom. As well as making the 999 call, she tried to do CPR on her mother whilst Wadsworth watched her with the knife in his hand.
My God.
So at any point, he could have just started stabbing her. That girl is so fucking lucky. Terror and bravery to just go through that. That's bravery. That's wild. So she said my granddaughter had gone home to find Wadsworth arguing with Melissa. And she said, quote, I tried ringing again at 2:55, but still no reply, so I had a bath. Then at 3:20, my granddaughter rang me back. She was screaming down the phone, shouting, Nana, Nana, Andrew is stabbing Mummy. She said she had asked him why she was doing it, and he turned to her and shouted, quote, you fucking know why.
I don't.
Okay.
That's why I asked.
Clearly I don't. I told her to ring police, but it turned out she already had. I rang them too, and as I did, I could hear sirens of police cars heading up the road and police helicopter passing over my house. I thought, I hope that's not what's going to be going on at Melissa's, but lo and behold, it was. I got dressed and went straight to Melissa's. There were police everywhere. A policeman said, you can't go in there, and I said, yes, I can. It's my daughter's house, but he says, I'm sorry, you cannot, and she's gone. He told me to go to the shop along the road where my granddaughter was being looked after in the back by two police women. They had to shut the shop. One said, "Is it Jean?" I replied, "Yes," and she said, "I'm sorry, but Melissa has gone. It did not register. I was just in shock." The policewoman said, "You need to speak to Kelsey." And I said, what do you mean gone?" And she said, "I'm sorry, but we couldn't save her." I went through to my granddaughter. She was shaking and saying, have you got mommy? I had to tell her, "I'm sorry, but she's not there. She's gone with the angels." And she witnessed it all. She saw her mommy dying. She held her hand out, or Melissa held her hand out to her when she was dying on the bed.
That is fucked up, man.
That poor fucking kid. My Christ, man.
She is 14 today. That's just horrific.
That's too much for an 8th grader to do, man.
Way too much.
That's fucked, man. So the autopsy, like we said, was just, they said they took her apart. He took her apart. I mean, he stabbed her so hard and so many times. The toxicology tests, he was found to have cocaine, benzoxylic. It's a byproduct of cocaine. Yeah. I don't know, whatever, some shit you cut with coke in his system. And she also had cocaine as well, and also a low level of blood as alcohol as well. So they both had booze and coke in their systems, which I don't care how boozed and coked someone is, you can't stab them to death. So, like I said, I don't think it's that fucking poor kid, man. And the poor grandmother, that's your daughter. You had to hear your granddaughter screaming and crying while your daughter's being like, that's
butchered. Goddamn butchered.
Yeah, those two things for like a grandparent, your head would explode, you know? Like, I can't imagine, like, my grandmother would have went over there with a belt full of knives. That's what I mean. She would have went with like double-handed weapons, and it would have been crazy. So you can't, that's hard, man. I really do. This is a fucking, there's a lot of like, I feel fucking bad for these people. I really do. I mean, honestly, but not nearly as bad, Jimmy. Actually, I feel worse probably, but still, these people I feel bad for also. As bad for Andrew Wadsworth, apartment investment sales and development at Wadsworth Multifamily in Salt Lake City, Utah.
He owns it.
Utah and multifamily, when you put those together, it makes it a little weird.
And gross.
And a little gross. Andrew Wadsworth, training specialist at Carvana in Tempe. Carvana.
Andrew, big vending machine.
Yeah, he trains people how to fucking press the button. Andrew Wadsworth, science teacher, Reading, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Andrew Wadsworth, employee benefits specialist, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. He wears a bow tie, this guy. He's definitely not a fucking hardcore murderer. Andrew Wadsworth, managing director at Vital Stats, Jesus, in Nova Scotia. And finally, Andrew Wadsworth, MD, family practice, geriatric and internal medicine on 12th Avenue in Phoenix, as a matter of fact. This guy's been practicing for 40 years. So.
Takes care of the elderly.
And, so he did not, in fact, stab a woman to death in England. We can promise you that.
That's so funny.
So I always feel bad when it's a doctor or a real estate agent, because those are two things where you're like, eesh, never mind that one. I know it's not the same guy, but still, you know.
Or a car salesman, because it feels like if somebody murdered somebody and then got out of prison.
That's the job.
I imagine a car dealership would overlook that if you can sell some fucking Mazdas.
If you commuted Ted Bundy's sentence and he got out in like 2003... That's the job he would get.
All day,
he's
man.
1,000% selling fucking Zions.
His face is on the wall at a Kia dealership.
You know it is, yeah. Hyundai will never be the same. So,
we butcher the competition, James.
We slaughter them.
We are just price slicing.
Slicing prices down to the bone. Right down to the bone. we empty our arteries for you. So trial comes around, and the trial, they bring up the phone recording, obviously. It says, quote, "It's obvious he has her telephone and his tone is one of command." That's what the prosecutor says after playing the video in court. She appears to want him to leave, and within hours she was dead. That's part of the court's opening statement here. He denies the counts, by the way, of attempted murder and making a threat to kill a child. Okay. So he says, fine, I stabbed Melissa, good, stabbed her up, but I did never threaten to kill the daughter.
Yeah.
She was doing CPR, could have stabbed her to death right then.
Never had any intention of harming that child.
Never even threatened her, and I wasn't trying to kill that guy out in the street either. So that's not attempted murder either.
All right.
You stabbed a guy enough to puncture his lung, I would say that's attempted murder.
Absolutely.
Done.
Held a knife to a child's throat. That's attempted murder.
Yep, he denies that. But that's what the daughter said. So I'm going to believe the daughter in this situation.
I'm on her side, whatever she says.
Pretty much at this point.
I think she says for the rest of her life, I believe it.
Yep, but she's got a pretty good yellow brick road for me for the future. This poor fucking kid. So Wadsworth admitted stabbing Melissa Belshaw at her home, but he relies, his partial defense is, quote, loss of control. He claimed that she said what she had said to him. He said that he was, quote, humiliated and betrayed by what he said were, quote, shock revelations about her being a prostitute ever since their relationship had began. And it made him even madder because he said she, quote, cried poverty to him all the time, and he gave her money. He said,
bad prostitute he's furious about too?
Yeah, she's out. She cheats on me and then asks me for money. That's his defense of murdering a woman.
Wow.
His defense is, I was humiliated because she fucks people and then takes money. Like, that's not a defense of murder.
I'm humiliated. She fucks people, takes money, and then takes money from me because she can't afford to pay her own bills with her fuck money.
With her own fuck money. Exactly. Okay. Yeah. So he says that, Jesus Christ, he says that Melissa went on to tell him that she had sex with two of her relatives, he claims, as well. That not only do I have sex with random people and neighbors, I do it for money. I fuck my relatives. I fucked a police officer and also engage in what he called, quote, sex parties with people he knew. So not only that, she was like calling all of his friends and saying, everyone's going to have a shot at me when Andrew's out getting groceries. Come on over.
She's the wife in Boogie Nights. Just
William H. Macy's woman. Yeah, just right on the driveway. Everyone take a cop of gander over here and take a look. That's what he's claiming, basically. And there's no evidence to back this up whatsoever. That's, obviously that's just his delusions. She didn't bang everybody he knew. There's none of that's going on here. He also said that she helped him set up a robbery in which he was injured as well. Okay. So she said, and she's not an angel either. She actually was a criminal too that was in business with me and helped me set up a robbery. So there's that. And she set up the one where I was injured falling out of the window as well.
Oh, that too.
He's going to claim that in court. And he said that the prosecutor just called those recycled accusations that amounted to a character assassination of Ms. Belshaw in an attempt to shift the blame. Which, yes, this is prosecutor Tim Story. He said, quote, Melissa Belshaw wasn't killed in a single instance of violence. The attack upon her was prolonged, remorseless, and deliberate. Yep, there you go. Now, Gerard Bristow here comes in. And he said, Mr. Prosecutor Story said, quote, this was a catastrophe which left him in fear of his life. He suffered nerve damage and needed surgery to his shoulder. And he had a strong interest in training and fitness and has been unable to continue that, with a punctured lung. Right. He said on the stand, this is Mr. Bristow, he said, quote, I think he launched at me because I was asking questions. I think the reason he did not pose a great threat was because I had a guy next to me. Or the reason he did not pose a great threat was because I had a guy next to me with a hammer. Mm-hmm. So he was thinking I can ask some questions because me and Hammer Guy over here, he's not going to attack us. And he just ignored Hammer Guy and started fucking stabbing this dude. So he wasn't real concerned about Hammer Man. He says that they cross-examined him. And they said, you told police you thought he intended to kill you. And he said, yes, once I fell on the ground and he continued to stab at my head and chest. Yeah. At that point, I thought, maybe. He said, it is clear that either he intended to cause you serious injury or, if you are right, intended to kill you. And he said, yes, I would say trying to kill me. And then the prosecution said, was there a moment you thought he was about to stop? And he said, no. He was stabbing me. I thought he was going to stab me to death, and then thank fuck my buddy came over here and kicked him and distracted him. Right. I mean, he roundhouse kicked a fucking cop when they showed up. This is not a reasonable person we're dealing with here.
And the day was not over for him. He was still in it to win it.
Yeah, he was still at the jail, had another thing. Now, there's a friend of Melissa. She testifies that she allowed Melissa to use her cell phone to contact Wadsworth while he was in prison. She said that during one video call over Instagram, apparently, she overheard Wadsworth threatening her from jail. He's in jail threatening people. She told the court, quote, he threatened if she didn't leave him alone, he would kill her and kill the kid. So he was saying to leave him alone at that point. Melissa was next to me at the time. They were arguing all the time, so that threat I took with a pinch of salt. So this was just like normal behavior. I guess they were arguing, and then she was saying this and that, and he was saying, leave me the fuck alone or I'm going to kill you and your kid, which is a very... That's a really crazy threat, even for a crazy person.
Right.
Now, the defense here, he says, he gives his closing speech later on, and he says, you've heard a great deal of the private life of Melissa Belshaw. You've heard her described as an escort or a prostitute. These elements were not advanced by us gratuitously, just to simply denigrate the memory of Ms. Belshaw, let alone to suggest because of what she did she was somehow some kind of second-class citizen. That is not the object at all. The evidence was adduced as an essential part of the background against which the defense of loss of control is set. No, it isn't.
No.
It doesn't matter how much somebody makes you mad.
Right.
Like, she could have literally tied him up and fucked his father in front of him, and he's still not allowed to kill her. That's not allowed. No. Unless he's in danger, unless, as she said, when he's done fucking with me, he's going to kill you with his dick. That's the only way, if he's in danger or threat of his life.
Or she held a gun on him while she blew his father. That's the only way that...
Maybe that's how she gets off. I don't know. Or not her, but I mean somebody. Or maybe that's how his dad gets off. We don't know. That would be the only way.
Right.
So what a fucking load of shit that is. I'm sorry. So he testifies, Andrew does, and it's wild. Here goes. First, he claimed that she admitted that day to orchestrating that attack on him in October 2018, where he was bloody at the chip shop.
Yeah.
He told the jury 2 armed men broke into their shared home. One of the men was a member of her family. He said, quote, we was drinking and taking drugs and talked a lot. We were talking in depth about quite a few things. She said previously she was desperate to get back together, and she asked if I could give her another chance, but she had thousands of chances. She said would I give her a chance if she told me what went on that night in October 2018. She said she was pressured into it and needed the money. She said that she thought a large amount of drugs was going to be in the house, so she gave them the key and said, I never thought you would get hurt like that. They told me they weren't bringing any weapons. That's what he claims.
Right.
So he says he managed to escape by jumping out of the window, causing him to break his back, which was never broken. So he also said that night that Melissa had clarified rumors he had about a sex party by saying she had multiple partners and, quote, fully admitting her part in the setting up the robbery. This is after she said she fucks many people.
Right.
He also said that he was complaining about her, quote, crying poverty when she was earning a lot of money. He says that he gave her thousands in cash before they split up last Christmas. He also denied that he was obsessed with her.
Yeah.
It's not an obsession. What are you talking about?
Okay.
The prosecutor said, the reason why you killed Melissa was, you say you lost control at what she said. Do you mean you lost your temper? And he said, no, I didn't lose my temper. I lost control. Okay. Semantics much?
Yeah.
Prosecutor said, was it because you binged on drink and drugs, you believed in the nonsense, and you decided to kill a woman who irritated you for a long time? He said no. And he then said that he told the jurors that no, she was an escort. She told me that she'd not given up escorting and was always doing it on some level. And they said, well, how'd that make you feel? And he said, Melissa was desperate for us to get back together. She was desperate for that. I brought stability to her life.
That guy's stable.
This guy. Mr. I don't know how I ended up in the chip shop covered in blood is fucking stability.
The guy that loses control, James.
Whoa. He said, I've never experienced such an intense feeling of being overwhelmed. The magnitude of what was actually said. Wow. I just thought, quote, how can you do this to me when I was so good to you? How can you treat me like this? I just thought, how can you treat me like shit? Or how can you treat me and shit on me like this? You have used me. So he said that he denies that the daughter came into the room like during the initial stabbing. He said, but she, quote, came in immediately after. He said she never saw Melissa being stabbed. She did, unfortunately, see her mom lifeless when she opened that door. So they asked him, did you threaten the child? And he said, definitely not. Very low blow, that. Like, how dare you, basically. Right. Like, hey, don't. It's one thing to call me a murderer and drug addict and a piece of shit, but don't besmirch my reputation. That's another thing completely.
I don't push this terror on children. Yeah, you do. You stabbed her in front of her.
That's wild. He says what she had done to me was when she got back into escorting with all these lads who go to the gym and everyone knows. So that's what he's claiming. I said to her, I do everything for you. You do nothing for me. I said, you couldn't even support me through the worst of days. She was being very selfish about things. He's saying this in a murder trial.
That she was being selfish.
Dude, get a fucking clue of what this looks like. Just think about for a second from the outside when you're just like,
is nil.
I mean, if she wasn't such a bitch, I wouldn't have stabbed her. What are you talking about? She's very selfish about things. He also said, she told me she had gone to some house party and she had gone there for paid sex and took some GHB and there was many people who had sex with her. Okay. She said this was going on whilst I was in prison. I just flipped, totally flipped. So he said that also later earlier that evening, or earlier that day, she had told him that she owed money for drugs and all this other shit, and that she needed money. He said that the knife he used to attack her had been brought up to the bedroom by her because she was using it to crush the cocaine they used. Okay. That's what he claimed. He said, I just said something like, are you for fucking real? And she got up and tried to get out, and I grabbed her shirt. He says, quote, I just flipped. I felt so hurt and betrayed and humiliated. She tried to twist out of her top. I think I grabbed her with my left hand, and I would have grabbed the knife with my left. In that moment, I didn't have it that I was going to stab her. It just happened in literally 10 seconds. I was that overwhelmed. I never wanted to harm Melissa. That's not me thinking as I am now. Her daughter came into the room and said something like, Andy, what have you done to my mummy? And I felt a sudden realization of dread.
Yeah.
So much so that I ran outside and tried to stab someone else to death.
And then kicked the cops and then punched another cop. And it all went downhill from there.
Then I roundhouse kicked a woman in the face when I went outside after I tried to stab the neighbor.
Then everything went sideways.
Fuck, man. He said that Melissa told him that she'd bought drugs from and slept with a next-door neighbor with a, quote, Scouse accent. Okay. And that he'd been bullying her. I guess it's Liverpool, because he admitted that he, quote, he went outside, quote, wanting to harm another man outside following the attack, but he said he never intended to kill him. Mm-hmm. You know how you just stab somebody in the chest and face just to make a point. You know, it happens all the time. You don't want to kill him or anything. Where do you see the fucking knife, the size of the knife? Anything you do with this knife, you're intending to kill someone. Like anything. It's insane. If you said, you got a knife, I got to cut this box open quick, and I handed it to you, you go, Jesus Christ, anything bigger? You have the Conan the Barbarian sword? What the fuck are you? A little knife. I just want to open a box. I'm going to cut my arm off with this thing. So he said, quote, when I heard a strong Liverpudlian accent, I guess that's Scouse, voice outside the house, he just flipped. He said, quote, I never felt such intense feelings. I felt I'd been manipulated, and it made me look like an absolute idiot. I was in such an overwhelmed state that it doesn't even seem real to me. So, she was stabbed in the heart, neck, chest, face, everywhere. Just stabbed. Prosecutors describe it as a remorseless attack as well. Asked by the defense counsel if he loved Melissa, he said, quote, "At one time I loved her very much. I didn't love her on that occasion. I felt sorry for Melissa." This guy is the dumbest.
Yeah.
Just don't. What the fuck are you doing? You don't get out.
Took the stand to say this shit.
He took the stand to go, I mean, she pretty much deserved it. Like, she pushed my buttons, and you know how it is. Like, she was a bit of a... She's a bit of a whore, you know what I'm saying? Like, what are you, nuts? First of all, you have no proof of any of that shit. This is something that a crazy person's saying that no one else has said.
Right.
No one else thinks. No, he's just nuts, man. This is fucking nuts. So on cross-examination, as you might imagine, the prosecutor's got some shit to say to all this. He says, quote, "Was it because that the nonsense line that she'd irritated you?" He said no. He said, quote, "In less than 10 seconds, Melissa had been stabbed to death. There was no prolonged attack." He said, quote, "If I did know what I was doing for those few seconds, I would not have stabbed her in the first place." Meanwhile, witnesses have said that it was a 2-minute sustained attack of constant blows. He also says, this is the prosecutor, this is good shit here, quote, "You have too little courage to admit what you have done, the cold, callous murder of Melissa Belshaw." That's good shit there. He said, quote, "I don't agree with murder." This is Andrew. "I don't agree with murder. I didn't intend to kill. There was no time for a thought to murder her." He said that he acted instinctively. Instinctively.
I'm so glad I don't have those instincts.
No, that's not. I think, oh, I'm sad. I'm going to go sit in a corner and be sad for a minute. I don't think, well, I better start stabbing the source of my sadness real quick. Like, that's fucking wild. He said all of this shit. So the defense in their closing, they say that her daughter claimed, this is the closing, Ms. Belshaw's daughter claimed she witnessed her mother's murder and that Wadsworth put a knife to her throat and threatened to kill her. What? She claims that, this fucking lie. How dare this little liar. Wow, that's ridiculous. He denies that she was present, obviously. He admits attacking the neighbor with a Scouse accent on the street, but he described the incident as a, quote, terrible mistake. He thought he was killing the guy who was giving her drugs and killing her.
Sorry, mate. Complete misunderstanding.
He said he was sticking up for Melissa because this was the guy that was bullying Melissa, so he was going to go stab him. So he denies all of that. He asked the jurors, the defense attorney, asked them not to, quote, rush to judgment.
Yeah.
Don't rush to judgment.
Take your time.
He said, quote, "It would be strange indeed, wouldn't it, if you did not have sympathy for Ms. Belshaw's daughter and may also have sympathy for Melissa Belshaw. Why wouldn't you? She's dead. And equally, you may feel a sense of anger with regard to Mr. Wadsworth and what he has done. But, and it is big, and it's a big and significant but, you will need no reminder from me that you collectively have sworn or affirmed that you will try this case on the evidence and the evidence alone. Emotions such as sympathy or anger can play no part in your deliberations. In our submission, the issues so far as the killing of Ms. Belshaw is concerned are far from straightforward." In other words, she had some work in it too. Verdict comes in. It's a little more straightforward. They find him fucking guilty of murder and attempted murder.
Yeah.
But they find him not guilty of making a threat against the daughter.
Really?
That was just his word against hers, so they just said, not guilty. We can't prove it.
Okay.
I would say anything that he was doing in there, I'm going to believe at that point because he stabbed a woman to death. So her family, before the sentencing, this is the victim statements, said she was a beautiful soul inside and out. This is her mother. She had a heart of gold. I remember the day I gave birth to her. She'll always be my baby girl. She was a beautiful soul. Over and over, everybody going up and saying, the Jean talks about having to hear her granddaughter tell her on the phone that she's been stabbed and this guy in the background and how much she suffered through all of this. She said the opening of her new shop was her dream and a turning point in her life. Sadly, she never got to open that shop after all of her hard work. On May 20th, my world fell apart. Jesus Christ. It's bad. She said, our family is broken. Even happy events now bring sadness. I feel I'm going through hell every day. I can't sleep, eat, and getting dressed in the morning is hard. I will never come to terms with what has happened and will never forgive. My heart will never recover. The loss is too great.
My word.
I believe all of that. The judge discussed the sentencing outlines, and they said the minimum sentence on it's murder, so it has to be a life sentence, but then there's minimum years in a life sentence that you do. So they said the minimum for this, the prosecutor said, should be 25 years because of the aggravating factors. They said that the aggravating factors was the murder was committed in front of the daughter and that the daughter was trapped because the door was locked and all of that shit. Now, the defense says that, wow. They say, how about 15? Let's start at 15. What are we talking about? He says that Mr. Wadsworth recognizes the enormity of what he's done, though he wishes it were not so. If he releases, it will be many, many years, if ever, before he regains his liberty. So, it's fine. Just 15 years should be good. Now the judge.
Yeah, the judge is like, I've heard.
Okay, let's sit back.
You can do, Judge.
For about a 3-page ass chewing here.
Fantastic.
This is fucking awesome. Starting out by describing him as a violent and dangerous man, said he used character assassination against Ms. Belshaw during the trial to shift blame. Describes Ms. Belshaw as a loving and loved daughter, sister, and mother who may have made some mistakes but was still only young and was seeking to turn her life around. Andrew Wadsworth, you are now 37 years old and stand convicted by the jury of the murder of Melissa Belshaw and the attempted murder of Gerard Bristow. You are also to be sentenced for offenses to which you pled guilty, namely assaulting 2 police officers. Mm-hmm. That was at an earlier trial. There is one sentence that the law requires that be passed for murder. That is mandatory life sentence. I'm required to specify the minimum term which must elapse before you can be considered for release on license, which means parole over there. Yeah. The minimum term that I arrive at will reflect the totality of your offending. I will specify sentences for the other offenses, but they will be served concurrently with the sentence for murder. Here we go. You and Melissa Belshaw were once in a relationship, although that was not the case at the time of her death. You claim that you had loved her, but the numerous derogatory words used in your text messages to her suggest otherwise. By contrast, you appear to have had a very high opinion of yourself. Here we go. Yeah. Your messages display a wholly unwarranted air of moral superiority. At trial, you painted a very negative picture of Ms. Belshaw as you set out to shift responsibility away from you and to blame her for what happened. Some of the things you claimed about her were demonstratively false. Your character assassination undoubtedly went beyond anything that was justified. You had degraded her in life, and you continued to do so after her death. The statement of her mother read to this court today has gone some way to redress the balance. Melissa Belshaw was a loving and loved daughter, sister, and mother. She's mourned by her family and friends. She may have made some mistakes in life, but at the time of her death, she was pursuing the dream of having her own beauty salon. She was still only young, and sadly, she made a fatal mistake in becoming involved with you, and you took her future away. You are a violent and dangerous man.
Yeah.
On your own admission, you've led a criminal lifestyle most of your adult life. In 2010, you were sentenced to 5 years imprisonment for 2 offenses of robbery involving imitation firearms.
Remember that?
Remember that one? In 2011, you received an extended sentence for aggravated burglary and wounding with intent, compromise. A little bit, it's ringing a bell. Compromising a custodial term of 10 years and an extended license period of 2 years. Your relationship with Melissa Belshaw began in 2018 after you'd been released from prison. You told the jury that Melissa Belshaw had been keen to reignite the relationship after he got out of prison again, but you wanted no more to do with her. However, you went to her house the weekend before she died. In the days that followed, you drank a great deal and took large quantities of cocaine, despite knowing full well that doing so was likely to impact negatively on your mental health and make you more prone to violence. Mm-hmm. On the afternoon of May 20th, 2020, you and Melissa Belshaw were in her bedroom. Text messages reveal that you had been badgering her to admit your accusations of misconduct. What precisely passed between you that afternoon, I do not know, but the jury have rejected your claims that she said or did anything to justify you losing your self-control. You stabbed her multiple times, inflicting fatal wounds. The pathology evidence demonstrates that considerable force was used. It is a significant aggravating feature that you murdered Miss Belshaw when her 13-year-old daughter was present in the house. You claim she came in the room only after your attack on her mother, which you say lasted a matter of seconds. That cannot be true. The harrowing phone call received by Mrs. Belshaw's mother when her granddaughter relayed what was happening provides the clearest evidence that the child witnessed at least some of the attack on her mother, and then it went on for considerably more than a matter of seconds.
Yes.
And she is laying waste to this motherfucker. Displaying remarkable bravery, the girl called police and was able to attract the attention of neighbors and a passersby. Courageously, a passerby, Kevin Morris, came to her rescue and got her out of the house. A neighbor, Jared Bristow, also heard the commotion and was seeking to help. Having come out of the house, you took exception to Mr. Bristow, perhaps because you mistook him for someone else. You had brought the knife out into the street. He hastily backed away from you with his hands up while you lunged at him, stabbing him in the chest. As he lay on the ground, you continued to stab him in the head and chest. Mr. Bristow is plainly a strong man. He fought for his life and just managed to hold you off until the intervention of Mr. Moores and the arrival of police distracted you, as the jury found you were intending to kill him. So he suffered wounds to his chest and head. His right ear was partially severed. Lung was punctured. He was admitted to a hospital for treatment. He talks about the undergoing surgery. Here we go. When you were apprehended, you struggled violently. While a female officer attempted to restrain you, you aimed a roundhouse kick at the head of PC Andrew Benson. Once at the police station, you resisted instructions not to remove your coat and to preserve evidence. While officers attempted to deal with that, you punched PC Stephen Shaw in the jaw. As a former professional MMA fighter, you knew exactly what you were doing. Both officers were doing their duty and serving the public. These were not trivial assaults. You've displayed no remorse for the death of the woman you professed to have once loved. During your evidence, you did say that you wish she had not died. With characteristic self-centeredness, you went on to say that it was the biggest thing that ever happened to you. The one thing that you can say in your favor is that you recognize how serious your offenses are and regret the impact on your family, particularly your mother. Looking at the murder in isolation, I accept the starting point here. Okay, we'll get to that. I acknowledge the knife had come from Ms. Belshaw's kitchen and that the circumstances in which it was taken to the bedroom were not wholly clear. That said, there's no evidence to support the prosecutor's contention that you had a fascination with knives and that you had admitted that on several occasions you took a knife with you to bed. Okay. I cannot be sure that you deliberately armed yourself with the knife in advance of the murder. However, I am sure that you're no stranger to knives and you were just not slow to pick one up and use one that afternoon. Of course, later you went to the street armed with the same knife. Yeah, let's see. The nature of the injuries clearly points to an intention to kill, although I sentence you on that. I don't want to get to that yet. Your text messages contain coercive and abusive undertones. The fact that you were intoxicated through drink and drugs further aggravates your offending. That is particularly so given your license conditions and the concerns that your substance misuse had caused in the past. For all of these reasons, let's see, looking at the sentence counseling, there can be no doubt in the context of your offenses for which I must sentence you. A life sentence is required for this. Assaults on police officers. Let's see. Let's get to that part. Here we go. I make it clear that this term represents the minimum period you will be required to serve in custody before you can apply for parole. You, sir, may fuck off. Minimum term of 32 years in prison before he can get parole. Minimum 32 years. That is banged good.
That's expensive.
Yeah, he will be. This means you will be required to serve a minimum of 32 years in custody. After that time is served, you will only be released if the parole board decide that this is appropriate. If you're released, you will remain subject to license for the rest of your life. As you know, you'd be liable to be recalled and to continue your detention if you reoffend or otherwise. Yes. So life sentence, 32 years. He showed no reaction at all. Melissa's family said life as we knew it changed the day that monster took Melissa from us. Yeah. They said the senior investigating officer said that prison is the right place for him, which I would agree with. I think it is. If there was a big building where you'd keep really bad people, he belongs there.
Yeah.
That's where you put him. She also said that the mother said the defense continually tried to destroy her memory and showed a total lack of sympathy or sensitivity toward the family and the loss we have suffered. Absolutely. He fucked himself good, man.
He did, yeah.
He did not help himself at all. If he's going to admit to doing it, you have to be extremely fucking remorseful and
show you had some sort of threat to your life. Like, there's a lot of things that you got to reflect.
Or you just have to fall on your sword completely and just be like, I don't know what I did, but I did it. I feel horrible. I'm the worst person, blah, 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 blah. You can't just be like, well, I mean, she was a bit of a fucking skank, wasn't she? Like, isn't it? Like, that's not going to do it. So, yeah, they said they'd like to thank the police and all that stuff. So he is still being held. He's still in custody. His parole eligibility date is February 12th, 2052.
Ouch.
So there's that. Yeah, he is.
That's the kick in the knockers, James. That's
a rough one. Can't get enough. Well, don't kill anyone in England because you're going to end up in jail with him, where he'll stab you with a pointy screwdriver, I would assume. So be careful with that. And don't be like him. How's that?
Yeah.
Fucking not like that asshole.
Yeah.
That, everyone, is Andrew Wadsworth. One of our top scumbags, I would say.
It's really gross. Nobody has done something like that and then taken the stand to, like, blame the victim. That's
what I mean. Over here, they either outright deny it or they're like, 100% like contrition and all this type of shit. There, he's just like, I mean, but she provoked me, didn't she? Like, no, she didn't, motherfucker. What are you talking about? You dumb shit.
That is
so. That's crazy. That's Andrew Wadsworth, everybody. And that is this week's insane edition of Crime and Sports. If you enjoyed that story, or enjoyed the way we told the story,
what a time.
Get on Apple Podcasts. Let us know about it, or get on any of them. Wherever you listen to podcasts, give us 5 stars. I don't know if Spotify you can rate. Can you?
I don't think so.
Spotify? No, they got to add that. If they can, do that. But anywhere, wherever you listen, give us a rating. 5 stars, 10 stars, 100 stars, however many stars you can fucking give. Say something. Say, I like this show. It's a good show.
Yeah.
Follow us on social media. We are at Crime and Sports on Twitter and Facebook, at Small Town Murder, at Small Town Murder on Instagram. Also, listen to the shows of Upside Down Digital Network, which is our network where we put out our 2 shows, Game of Crimes, not our 2 shows, but the 2 shows we help put out through our network, Game of Crimes, and then Life After Happy Face. Give them a shot. Trust us. They're really good. We wouldn't be saying you should listen to them if they weren't really good.
Great shows.
Great people that make great shows and just wonderful content. So check all those out on the Upside Down Digital Network there. You definitely want Patreon.
Yeah.
Patreon.com/crimeandsports. You get access for $5 or above. You get access to everything. The Patreons for both shows, all of the back catalog, everything that we could possibly give you. Nothing is worth more than $5 on there. Trust us. So you do that, or nothing costs more than $5, we should say. We hope it's worth more than $5. Right. So, every other week you're going to get 2 more episodes of bonus. This week's, the ones we just put up are phenomenal. We start with the Crime and Sports episode, which is the Congressional Major League Baseball steroid hearing.
Yeah.
Which is super funny because the guys got real indignant and pointed fingers and how I did never and how dare you. And then one of them tested positive like 4 weeks later. So it's just fucking hilarious. And then had to explain that, which was an even funnier explanation. Really funny.
Showed his ass, and now he's up for perjury. What a fucking dummy.
And we get to make fun of Kurt Schilling for a while, which is also fun. So check that out. And then on the Small Town Murder one of our best things we've ever done, it is about, I call it Ted Bundy's Wild World of Socks.
Yeah.
And it is basically Ted Bundy, if he had all the socks and underwear that he could have ever wanted, we might have saved over 30 lives. We'll put it that way. It's the crazy theory. It's absolutely insane. And it's something you've probably, I'm going to say, even true crime fanatics, I would say 99% of people didn't even realize that this was even, never heard anything about this. So check this out. We found, I don't know how, but we found a different angle to talk about Ted Bundy on, and we did it. So check it out. It's fucking crazy. All of that you can get at patreon.com/crimeandsports. And please get on there and do everything. And also, if you subscribe at patreon.com/crimeandsports, you will be a producer, and Jimmie will give you a shout out at the end of the show. Actually, the end in like 2 minutes. Right. And if you just want the shout out and our undying love and affection because you're such an amazing person that has helped us out, you can also go over to PayPal and use our email address, crimeinsports@gmail.com.
Yes.
That said, it's time, Jimmy. I need to hear, goddammit. We've heard a lot of bad things today. I need to hear the names of the greatest fucking people on the face of the earth that keep this ship going forward. Jimmy, hit me with them now.
This week's executive producers are Jordan Bennett, Eric West, Melissa Turner, Abraham Orozco, and Kate Hauk. Thank you guys for everything you do. You're truly amazing people, and
really.
It does not go unnoticed. Other producers this week are Kelly Higbee, Benjamin Wishall, Beth Scissorwinsky. She turned 50. It's not Scissor, but it's Scissor.
Happy birthday, Scissor Whiskey.
Happy birthday, Beth.
Scissor Whiskey.
Jennifer Schaefer, Margaret Eaton in Colorado Springs, Susanna Platt, Fran Hitsky in Australia. Her daughter, she told me a story, and it's the reason. Oh, it was because her daughter heard the list of people, and she was like, what are all those people for? And then Fran was like, those are the producers of the show, the people that donate to the show. She said, oh, I thought it was like Santa's good list, which it is. It's pretty much Whisman's
exactly
good
what
list.
it is. Santa's fuck yeah list.
Yeah, not naughties. Nicholas Hogan Avila at Buck Trucking. Thank you so much. Janice Hill, Jess Campanella, Lauren Wayne, and Taylor McMorris, Nick Ruggiero, Thimmy Withman. What the fuck? Tiffany Gonzalez is the best. Heather Rippey, Clark Laukuf. Sorry, Clark. There's no way that's happening. Ricky Crawford, Alvy Ferguson's mom passed away. I'm sorry, Alvy. Hang in there, man. Marcel Destin, Samantha Quigley, Peyton Meadows, Troy Mattis, James Martyr, Rabbi Shmulalovic, Matthew Hollum, Trisha Doty, Ann Walsh, Robert Combs, Chris with no last name, John, Del Gennaro,
Something Italian, as Jimmy might say.
Goddamn, it's embarrassing. Nicholas Thompson, Jessica Perez, Hillary White, Sarah Och, Scott Davidson, Josh Wheatley, Cassie Reddington, Maya Johansson, Patrick Pryor, Michael Lane, Matthew McWilliams, Jesus, James Thompson, Christopher Poole, Justin McCart, Michael Shank, Michael Gathouse, I think, Guthouse, Amantha, Autumn Tierney. I hope it's Jacob's family. That would be fantastic. Laura Roberts, Tindra Frost, Kevin Gibbons, Amanda Hoslin, Alice Marskell, Marcus Clater, Riley B, Spike and Ike, Sandon, Dribney, Sandon, Megan Bublitz, Aaron with no last name, Molly Day, Sydney Comu.
You're having problems today.
Jennifer Mack, Mike Spear, Kyle Olson, Elizabeth Huffnagel Puffer. What? Haley Iachansey, Cassandra Cronin, Jake Jalovec, Brian Sherman, Tiny Hands, Jamie Heine, Garley, Louise Tucker, Allison Beal, Gabrielle Williams, Beth with no last name, that's Jack McQuoid, Derek Nichols, Stephanie Monroe, Isabel Sizakowski, Jumpy whacking off, whatever. Jennifer Sabo, James Hertz, Jeremy Saperstein, Jody Clare, Julia Rick, Sam Walmsley, Carmen Winan, Debbie McDonald, Reginald Matthews, Laura Gabrielson, Tina Duran, Davina Bell, SWK1DD, Adam Lubbers, Cassie Hanks, Tanisha RN, I imagine she's an RN, Sabrina Sikorsky-Ross, Joanne Carley, Taylor Carter, Curtis Edwards, Alan Black, Tim Rice, Brittany Batt, Hannah with no last name, Cody Hooten, Thomas Gore, Vincent Black, Keaton McCahill, John Tracy, Joe Annie, Anna Clyburn, Kim James, Riley Heimdall Cheever, Blake Elam, Tom Shute, Glenn Kelly, Gretchen Hagen.
He's rolling.
I'm trying. Natalie Grove, Zachary McCarty, Turd Ferguson, 4-year Puma, Christian Kjorns, Christine Kimiko, Isabel Jackson, Jason Lawrence, Anna Savaleva.
You just watch his confidence training as he's reading these. I'm 3 feet away just watching the man crumble.
Kara Robertson, Braden Back, Robert Davis, James with no last name, Joe, Joe Zumpano, Charlie
Joe.
Starley, Catherine Davis, Lauren Meadows, Matthews, Caleb with no last name, James Woods, I hope not, Tim Gorman, Joe McLeod, Dylan with no last name, Allie Gary, Katarina Moss, Sarah Bulio, I don't know, Nilly
Nilly
M.
That all rhyme. Bulio, I don't know. Kick it, motherfucker. Sorry.
Jennifer Shishak, Nate Pedersen, Nick, Kevin Coleman, Sherry Backey, Brett with no last name, Desiree Hewlett, Philip Gorney, Miracle Ridge, Nigerian dwarf goats. That's fucking crazy. I hope that's real. Corey Edwards, Kelsey Gibbons, Shelby Locke, Luke, Hunter Perry, Jeffrey Scott, Ryan Ritza, Christopher Bowen, Jacob Utrich, Matilda Weaver, Justin Slater, Bailey Jones, Ethan Neely, Charlotte with no last name, Dustin Johnson, David Jones, what is this? Jason Batcher, Ron Krieger, Jacqueline Rickerbecker, Rickerby.
9 versions of them, all wrong.
Andrew Jones, Gabriel Schiffer, Devin DePatey, Jessica Bowen, Joe Shahan, Luis Fernandez, Kristen Crocker, Jeremy Heislip, Paul M., Erica L., Tony Santos, Roger Gist, Brian Strauff, William Rutledge, another Big O, Renee Jerusi, Emma Lisk, Austin Shirley, Brian Teat, nope, that's straight, Eva Torrance, Sherry Resnick, Joe L., Kylie Wise, Christopher, nope, that's Craig, Rustin, Mike Laheda, Angus Palmer, Matthew Stafford, probably not, Shamika Andrews, Kathleen Kime, Kate Hauk, Nick, what is that? Chaltry, Sean Dodds, Dallas Whitlow, Johnny Voudray, Michael Lynch, Arwin Cunningham, Amelie Clement, Drek Fresser, fucking hell, Nicole Buckley, Ananias, Anasay, Ron, I don't know, god damn it, Desiree Galvez, Ava Cogliostro, Alexandra Lyell, Gabby McClanahan, Karen, and also Favi, Michelle Lee, Mike Pupa, John Schiffer, Jeff Holden, and Emily and Brian, or Mamanga. They're getting married, so congratulations to you. And obviously all of our patrons. You guys, thank you so much for everything you do. We can't do this without you.
Thank you so much, everybody. Wow, you're the best. You're just the fucking best. Thank you so much. We really appreciate everything you do for us, and we hope that our pittance in return of these episodes that we hope are really funny and that we try to make as good as possible are enough to really cement, make you feel good about it.
You had no idea who Andrew Wadsworth was 10 minutes ago. 2 hours and 35 minutes ago. No clue.
And if you listen to these shout-outs on Small Town Murder, you might still not know, but you should, because if you like a murder story, you missed one this week. So check that out there, definitely also, if they hear that later on. But thank you, everybody, honestly, for doing that. Jimmie, what if they could possibly want to thank you? How could they do that?
You can thank
was there any way?
At Whisman Sucks, WHISMAN Sucks on Twitter and Instagram. Thank you, guys, truly. It's an absolute honor. Thank you. Where can they find you?
Absolutely. I am at Jimmie P is funny, or you can look up the show and it'll say us on there, and there'll be links to all that shit. So you don't even have to bother trying to get the right handle. You'll just go and find us and look us up. Google's a wonderful, easy thing.
What a tool.
What a tool it is. So check all that out, and keep coming back every single week. We'll be back next week, of course, and don't forget to listen to Small Town Murder every week. And thank you, folks, so much, live from the Crime and Sports Studios. We will see you next week.
Bye.
If you like crime and sports, you can listen early and ad-free now by joining Wondery Plus in the Wondery app or on Apple Podcasts. Prime members can listen early and ad-free on Amazon Music. Before you go, tell us about yourself by filling out a short survey at Wondery.com/survey.
He was hip-hop's biggest mogul, the man who redefined fame, fortune, and the music industry.
The first male rapper to be honored on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, Sean Diddy Combs.
Diddy built an empire, and lived a life most people only dream about.
Everybody know ain't no party like a Diddy party, so.
Yeah, that's what's up.
But just as quickly as his empire rose, it came crashing down.
Today I'm announcing the unsealing of a 3-count indictment, charging Sean Combs with racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, interstate transportation for prostitution.
I was up. I hit rock bottom, but I make no excuses. I'm disgusted. I'm so sorry.
Until you're wearing an orange jumpsuit, it's not real. Now it's real.
From his meteoric rise to his shocking fall from grace, from Law and Crime, this is the rise and fall of Diddy. Listen to the rise and fall of Diddy exclusively with Wondery Plus